What's going on? I am Nando.
And I'm DJ.
And I'm Diggins.
And this is Mostly Nitpicking, a podcast where every week we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. Woo-hoo! Woo-hoo! Boy, do we have a piece of pop culture this week.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled that we're here. I'm thrilled that I can't believe it. Can you guys believe it?
Thrilled isn't the word I would use, but
it's.
I guess I can believe it. Yes, I can believe it.
That's right, listeners. We broke into the Disney vault, bypassed all their incredible security measures, and made off with this week's choice. Since it never came out, it never will. But we managed to steal it away from the cold, hard hands of Disney to bring it to you, the people, or at least
the cold,
to
hard
describe
teeth
it.
Of Disney. He had
the
it
cold,
in his
hard
teeth
of Disney, right? Yes.
Yeah. Big frozen head.
To describe it to you, the people, who will never be able to see it due to the fact that it will never come out.
I don't know, Diggins. My bank account says a different story. I seem to be minus some $6 from my bank account.
And also,
Really?
if anybody wanted to, they could probably just stitch all the trailers together because most of this footage existed in the real world anyway. They'll just tell you at the end the bear doesn't look as good as you'd expect. But then,
Oh my god,
it ends. And they walk
Okay.
away. I thought
the
it was
worst effect
too.
I ever saw.
I thought it was too, and then at the very end, I thought it looked really not good.
Maybe the fact that we just watched The Witches lowered my standards for CGI animals.
Maybe. So I will say there's a shot of the bear that happens toward the end. It's like the first full shot of the bear where you're like, wow, terrible bear, bear.
I thought overall I didn't hate it as an effect, but there were a handful of shots that I was like, no, bad. But we're gonna be talking about a movie that, like Diggins said, we stole from the frozen head of Walt Disney's yummy teeth. Like they weren't yummy, but this movie was yummy, and he was like yum yum yum. And we said, no, this is for the people. And by that, I mean my two friends, and then also we'll tell everybody else about it. And he was like, it's too confusing. It doesn't make any sense. And I said, we'll try anyway. And he muttered some things about some people. I don't know. He's a weirdo. But we got New Mutants, and we watched it. I mean, some people have said that they saw it in a theater some time ago. They're liars, I guess, because they couldn't have, because we were the first humans to see it. But, there are people saying that.
I want to know who I gave $6 to.
Gosh. I don't know.
Who
Is
did
this
you
like
give
the...
$6 to?
I have to find out now. I thought that I pay $6 and then I get New Mutants. I didn't know that you guys had, stolen it. Illicitly.
No.
Contraband.
I know what happened, DJ. You probably downloaded the Asylum version of this, Moon Mutants, which is which is about some cows that get in new tents and then they fight a bear. It's similar. A lot of it, honestly, the plot syncs up pretty well. I think it may have gotten the source material in a way that this one maybe didn't. But that
makes sense.
Moon
guys,
Mutants,
this time,
that's a different movie.
When DJ doesn't know the plot of the movie he supposedly just watched, now you know why.
Yeah. He'll be like, I thought this character was played by a bad cow, and we'll have to be like, no, DJ, that wasn't what it was like in this movie.
Yeah, no,
it was actually people's, except for one character.
Yeah,
well, two characters. Well, actually, a lot of characters, but yeah,
half a character.
So many. Oh yeah. That's true. This movie, man.
Looking at the IMDb, it looks like Anya Taylor-Joy's character was played by the Experian Boost cow in my version.
DJ,
How about that?
I missed it because it's actually Anya Taylor-Joy playing it in the movie, and she's Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's terrific. Having just finished hours ago the chess show Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
And then also Emma earlier this couple months ago, maybe a month ago. I just am so happy for her that she gets to take this humongous weight off of her shoulders and move forward. All the other actors I'm equally happy for in that way, but her specifically, I'm like, man, her star is about to rise with this Mad Max film and the Edgar Wright film she's the main character in, Last Night in Soho. So, I'm so glad that this movie is out and she doesn't have to deal with it anymore.
Agreed.
And by out, I mean we three saw it. Before that, speaking of movies being out, I did want to throw this one at you guys because I made sure you guys hadn't seen this before. So there is news about a December thing.
Okay.
We're recording this on
Santa's
November
dead.
18th at 9:20 p.m. Or not, excuse me, November 18th, 9:20 p.m. Yeah, Eastern. Santa is not dead. Well, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. But no, a movie is coming out, you guys.
Oh, okay.
Want to take a guess?
Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Oh.
HBO Max on Christmas.
Whoa. They're not.
Yep.
That was a
they're not even
total
paywalling
stab
it?
in the
Just
dark. Yeah, you don't
HBO
even have to
Max?
rent it.
So I don't know. I only read headlines, but yeah, HBO Max at least. Well, HBO Max, I guess you don't usually have to, although you can see it in a theater if you want. Like if it's safe by you and theaters are open, which like in December of this year, I doubt it. At least in the States, but it'll be available for 1 month at premiere in theaters and international markets on December 16th. After the 1 month period is over, the film will play exclusively in theaters. But it will be simultaneously released in theaters and on HBO Max December 25th. It doesn't seem like you have to pay for it, but it's just like you have to pay for HBO Max, which like ain't cheap. It's like $15 a month.
The article I'm reading says specifically, unlike Mulan, Wonder Woman 1984 won't cost anything extra beyond the monthly subscription fee.
I don't think we're getting another Mulan again, because even Disney isn't trying it with Soul, right?
No,
They're just like, here's the movie.
Completely agree. I think if Mulan hadn't fucked this up so big, Wonder Woman would have a shot at getting people to pay for the movie.
Yeah.
But Mulan was so bad, and the movie was more expensive than I think it was. I think if they had done $15, they could have swung it, and then HBO would have been like, yeah, us too. But $30 for a bad movie? I mean, listen, I'm not saying I think this movie, Wonder Woman 84, is going to be bad. However, if we are looking at the trend of here's a movie for free that used to be in theaters but now is on streaming, those are all really bad so far.
Onward.
Well, Onward was in theaters already. I don't
Yeah,
think that
but they
one counts.
they fast tracked it to Disney Plus. All right, sure.
I don't think that movie's very good, but still. But no, I'm thinking more like your Artemis Fowls, your Witches, your there were some others.
Well, like we said, Mulan.
Bill and Ted was good. That's the one that I think was like the exception of the rule. But
that wasn't released on a streaming platform. You were just able to rent it.
that's true. I guess what I'm thinking of are movies that would have been released in theaters, but instead were released in your home in some way. But
there's Trolls World Tour, which of course was a great movie.
Yeah, it
it's true,
sucked
movie
big
was
time.
perfect.
Hated it. So yeah, that one. And then there was another one that was like Trolls World Tour, and I can't remember what it was, but something like that.
Artemis Fowl.
No, something. I think this one you also would have had to pay for, and it was also I didn't love it. Shoot, what was it? I don't remember. But
Did we do it on the podcast?
I don't think so. I don't think it fit kind of what we do.
It was like a fancy boy movie.
No, I think it was
For fancy lads.
I think it was like a kids movie that even Trolls it even was not right considering that we did Trolls anyway. I don't remember what it was though. Problem is there's no good way to like look at all of this because these movies don't actually get released in like they don't get their theater releases. I mean, like there was that Unhinged movie, but I think that actually went to theaters. I don't know what it was, but yeah, it's definitely not a great record so far. So I have a feeling.
Scoop?
Oh, it was Scoop. Yes, that's the other one. And we did do that one. Yeah,
We did do Scoop.
Yeah, so like also sucked. So far, all the movies that have tried this, besides also Bloodshot, but that one also came out in movies. But all the movies that have tried this, aside of Bill and Ted, which was good, I think have been not great. So I would not be shocked if Wonder Woman 84 might not be very good. I don't know. I haven't had any. I don't know. I've talked about this before, but I don't think it looks very great.
Do we know if Borat was planned to be in movie theaters, or was that always going to be in Amazon streaming?
I think
yada,
as
yada?
far as we know, it was always Amazon streaming.
Okay.
And to be like, there have been some good movies that have come out on streaming, like your Palm Springses and whatnot, but those were also always planned to be on streaming. So I'm not counting those in the equation. Because there is the dump it off to, streaming or the dump it off to VOD model that has popped up, but it is only for movies that seem like they would not have made money, either because of a small audience or because they're not good. Which I think kind of explains Bill and Ted, is they were just like, this won't make all that much money because it's not a huge movie, even though it was good.
By the way, speaking of Bloodshot, did you see it's getting a sequel?
I can't fucking wait. Oh my god.
Right? Let's go.
What's it gonna be? You know?
I don't know.
Right?
It
turns out that there was another group of people that he should have done revenge on, so he does a big revenge on them.
But what you didn't know is that revenge was also part of the revenge that he thought he was already getting. And his wife is bad, probably. I'm going to take a wild guess.
It turns out he was married, but she was lying because she was in on it. So now he's got to do another revenge.
Yeah.
On his wife?
Remember he had the wife?
know.
I don't know. She's
He's gonna
only
revenge his wife?
He didn't have the wife, but he thought he had the wife.
Oh,
he had
I see.
Didn't he have a wife, but she died? Or not? She
No.
died. Excuse me. Well, I'm way off. He had the wife in the past, right?
No, I don't.
No,
okay, it's not clear if they were ever married or if they were just dating. They were together.
Oh,
but
okay,
their
sure,
relationship fell apart on its own before he was a bloodshot.
Yes. Okay. That's where I think she was in on it. Apparently, that's my guess. Because they didn't leave too many threads to be pulled. To be honest, they got in a van and said, "Let's go do more Bloodshots," but they didn't say to who.
Right?
Maybe we'll get Bloodshot v. Xander Cage or something. That would be fun.
Oh my god, do the Jack and Jill model, but
Yeah.
a fight movie. That'll
Prince
be
and
so
the
good.
Pauper of Vin Diesel movies. I think that'd be awesome. But guys, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. We're talking about New Mutants.
Moo Newtons.
No, DJ, New Mutants.
right.
The one with the X-Men and not the cows.
I'll have to. Yeah, you guys will have to forgive me because I'm probably gonna be behind. We'll see how much the plots overlap.
Plenty of animals. No cows, however. Was one of the Moo Mutants a cow that turned into a little girl from Game of Thrones?
No, weirdly enough, a cow that turned into a dog.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. That was the other option.
By a little girl, you also mean a woman in her 20s.
But how old
she
are they
plays
supposed
a
to be
little
in
girl.
this? Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
hard time with that.
Yeah, she's playing a teenager.
Yeah.
That's just because she looks young.
Well,
But Maisie Williams is
she
like,
may have been very young when they filmed this. Who knows?
Yeah, there was still
True.
season 3 of Game of Thrones.
Right? She was probably in her 20s, but barely.
Still chasing cats.
I think this
Maisie
came
Williams
out
is currently 23.
I think it was filmed in
she-
2017, so I think she would be 19 or 20.
Nice.
Because they never got to the reshoots. They said they wanted
Right.
to, and I think everyone's schedules and just the fact that no one wanted to pay for them kept getting everything all screwy. But, yeah, the funny thing about this movie, and we'll talk about it, is, this movie has been on ice forever, but not because they were ever anywhere near doing something to fix it. They just, never got to doing that. So the movie we're seeing is pretty much what they wanted to show us. However, it definitely could use work.
Yeah,
I see
think
what
that's
they
right.
may have been going for.
Yes, I also see what they might have been going for, but also I think there's some huge gaps and a lot of stuff just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
Whoops.
But I mean, isn't that true of life, DJ? I mean, maybe it
that's
was
a good
just
point.
trying to be realistic.
I mean, all right, fair.
I mean, I think the problem
I-
DJ has is all the cows were doing things people would do.
Yeah,
And that didn't
yeah,
make sense to
like-
him. Why is this cow driving a car? And it's like, well, in the actual one, it was a person.
And why
Actually,
is this cow sneaking through a vent? It can't fit. It just-
Yeah, yeah.
this
Why do they
cow
have
cannot
cow-sized
fit through the
fence?
vent.
I mean, why do they have people-sized fence? That's also not a thing that really exists.
It is.
That's
it
actually
is.
a
It's
great
real
point.
thing. We all know it.
Vents are not made for people.
Well, these aren't people, DJ. They're mutants,
Even-
first of all. Second,
That's-
Whoa! Wow. We didn't
that's
say
it.
humans. We said people. So
I'm-
that's
listen,
a hard
I'm-
stance you're taking.
I'm only taking the stance that the government of Canada took legally, I think, at some point, over a shipping dispute. Have you guys ever heard of this case?
No.
So, I think this is Canada. I think it's a U.S.-Canada problem. There were taxes that are applied to certain toys, but not all toys. And they're applied to, animal character figure thingies and, monsters differently than they are people. So at some point in court, Marvel had to argue that the X-Men are not people. They are this other thing, so that they could tax them lower when they were being shipped internationally. So according to at least one world government, which again I think is Canada, the X-Men are not people. Mutants are not, at least. So Senator Kelly was right all along.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is hilarious that corporations are so incredibly evil that the Marvel argued in court the thing that the villains in their comic books do.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's great. I mean, it's like, I think, I want to read more about the case to hear, but I think they used Beast as the example of like, a mutant. That's not look at him. He's got blue. But, I wonder how much everyone involved actually knew about the X-Men at the time. Because it was like, I want to say this court case was 90s or early 2000s maybe. So like, there's a chance someone's, maybe read the comics, maybe their kid watched the cartoon. But I could also see this just going by as like, oh yeah, that guy's blue. That must be an animal. All right, Marvel couldn't believe their luck. But yeah, I should read up on it because it's a weird case. But speaking of reading up, guys, I am on IMDb.com and I'm reading up the synopsis for this movie. I'd love to hear what you guys think it is, starting with DJ. I'll give you a hint. No character names, and it's like a sentence long.
A group of young mutants must find their way out of an insane asylum when mysterious things start happening. Also, they're all cows.
Oh, cool. That's not bad, except for the cows part. Diggins, just kidding. I'm not gonna. You got some things right, some things wrong. Diggins, what do you got?
A facility for treating young people young mutants whose powers are first manifesting comes under attack from mysterious forces.
All right, I'm gonna give it to DJ.
I thought so. He said basically what I was gonna say, so I changed it.
And part of the
Diggs.
way DJ got it right was the phrasing. So DJ's started with like 5 young. It starts. So here's how it starts. 5 young mutants. So DJ said like some young mutants. I said
a group of young mutants.
Yeah, group of. Yeah, you didn't say a number, but still 5 young mutants just discovering their abilities while held in a secret facility against their will. Fight to escape their past sins and save themselves. So DJ had
what happened?
Yeah, I don't know.
Kind of. DJ had escape. Diggins, you had facility, which was good, and Diggins had the abilities thing. But I think DJ Young Mutants plus escape was right on the money. And you had a facility. You called it like a mental institution or asylum or something. Same thing. I don't think it's dead on necessarily, but it's hard because this movie has like a twist, kind of. It has 2 twists, kind of.
Does it?
I don't think it does.
But
no, it doesn't.
I could see someone writing the IMDb summary wanting to hide that information. But yeah,
I think the movie thinks it's a twist. I don't think that it is.
I agree with Diggins.
Yeah,
wholeheartedly.
I agree as well. And but I think that's why Past Sins doesn't quite work for me.
Yeah, because
I think if it was just escape their pasts, I would be okay with it. But Sins, it's like
that makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I even think escaping their past is a bit of a stretch because I had thought the twist would be one thing, which I guess we could talk to, or like later.
You thought the twist would be that it's not the obvious thing, but actually it was.
Yeah, right. I thought the twist would be fuck it, I'll say it because it doesn't spoil anything. I thought the twist was going to be like Dark Professor X, but he's a cow. But that's not what happened at all. It was just the movie played out as you thought it would.
Well, but I think still the past, like escaping their past, would be more like escaping, like getting over their guilt and different issues associated with the past trauma. So I think that as the plot description is a more apt, like just aspect of it is more about what the movie is. But
the movie is sort of being that.
Really, I mean, listen, it's not a good movie.
No, and it changes what it wants to be, I think, from scene to scene, because the reason I don't agree with the like escaping from their past or whatever, because they're not all doing that. Like, it's not all the same thing, right? Like, some people are victims of circumstance, and other people like have to get over a bad thing they did. But it's not all the same. So
I don't think anyone needs to get over a bad thing they did.
Not intentionally did.
Yeah, but I would say they're all victims of circumstance, except for one who doesn't have to get over anything, because that's the point.
Oh my god!
What? Oh,
this movie. Oh wait, do you like?
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind how one character was just like, "Fuck it, this is what I do. That's my job."
I think we're talking about two different characters.
I think we might be, but there were a bunch of characters whose thing was just like, there's a thing that happened in the past, and I'm not guilty of it, but I kind of feel guilty because I was involved in it. So like that's more what I mean.
Okay.
So like I think there's four of them that have that and one that doesn't, and I like that the one that doesn't just doesn't care. Like she's got a deal, but it's not that, you know.
Okay, I know who you're talking about, and on the same page. I thought you were talking about the protagonist, who I hate.
Oh no, she's awful.
I hate the protagonist of this movie.
She has some moments that I don't hate, but I don't think she works.
I don't feel like there's enough to this protagonist to hate. It'd be like hating a cardboard box. I mean, why? It's not doing anything to me. It's not interesting, but it's not doing anything.
If the cardboard box is supposed to provide maybe some kind of shelter or, be a nightstand or the cardboard box is supposed to do something, then you get mad when the cardboard box does not do its intended function.
Yeah,
but I'm not mad at the cardboard box then. I'm mad at whoever decided that the cardboard box should be what's doing this for me.
Okay.
Fair. I think some of the cardboard boxes in this movie were strong enough to kind of do the thing they were supposed to do, and some were not, and that made me like them less than the other ones. In their cardboard boxiness. Like, it's like a company was like, these are tables, and I was like, no, they're not, they're cardboard boxes. And the company was like, no, we couldn't make the tables, so just like see if these work. And some of them could hold the things that you would put on a table, and some crumbled under the weight of them almost immediately. And those ones I didn't like at all. Also, the table was ugly, and also...
Oh, dude.
Wow.
That, step too far, maybe?
Well, no. I mean, by the table was ugly, I mean just in a grand sense it didn't work. Like, besides just some of the acting and stuff, the plot, like the idea of the table I was buying wasn't going to be a good table from the start.
Sorry. The table has moved from the characters to the movie in this metaphor.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's a mixed metaphor, much like the metaphors in this movie. I think I've just spent too much time with New Mutants to remember what a metaphor is. So, speaking of tables, guys, let's talk about. Let's go here. Let's start here. DJ,
let's set the table for this movie.
Yeah. DJ, if you had to rank this movie on a scale of good table to bad table, where would you put it?
I think if this were a table, I think it's made of rotting shipwood. Also, it's missing a leg, and also it's not a table. Like, I did not care for this table, not one bit. Let me put it this way. I would prefer a Money Plane based table to this table. So at least I felt Money Plane was a hilarious table.
Nah.
And this table was not hilarious
You're out of your mind. Out of your mind.
No, I'm not.
Money Plane was so much a table in a shadow of the table it should be. Like, it was... I wish Money Plane was as good as, like, I think you think it is at being the bad table.
I mean, that's fair.
Isn't.
I might be drunk on how much good of a table it is. I will say... the table that is this movie, I don't even know where we are at this metaphor anymore. It did provide for some unintentional comedy that I thought was fun. So I was watching with Michelle, and there were bits where she like started laughing out loud, and I'm like, babe, that's not a comedy beat. And she said, yeah, but it's really funny. I'm like, that's true, but the movie did not want you to laugh there. It wanted you to like jump back or be like, ooh. It did not want you to laugh, but god damn it, it's hard not to. Not to.
I can't disagree with you there. Diggins, what about you? Where would you buy this table, and how much would it cost?
I would buy this table at like a Walmart. It's like a cheap, flimsy card table that I set up for like poker night with the boys. Ooh. It's not a good table, really. and I would never put too much weight on it or like expect it to do much. But it is a table, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You can place things upon it, and they will not fall to the ground. Generally speaking,
and you trust the table to hold up like that, is what I'm understanding.
I'm saying I wouldn't put too much on the table. I wouldn't put like a dinner on the table. Like, no, it's not going to hold up to that. But you know, a few cards, some poker chips, whatever, maybe a drink or two. I'd put that on the table.
Things that if the table failed, you'd ultimately be okay at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this movie is a pretty okay table from IKEA that is fine.
IKEA table, wow.
Like, it's a lack. It's your standard table, which is
It's most of my furniture.
Yeah, same. Except for my dining, my end table is actually decent, but all the rest of it is lax. And it's like, you know, it's got 4 legs and it's a table, and you're probably not gonna be like, here's my apartment during a tour. Look at this nice table I have. But yeah, you can put stuff on it. If someone was like, it's the worst table you've ever seen, and then they showed me this, I'd be like, no, this one's fine. It could be a better table. I think with some refinement and with maybe like, I don't know, a different design and stuff, it'd be a nicer table. But I do think I think it's an okay table. Now, as a picture, from my perspective, when I saw this table in the picture, like the magazine they send, and they're like, this is what the table should look like. It looked awesome. And this does not look as good as the table. And I don't think they really understood what made the cool table from the magazine good.
They never look as good as the tables in the magazine, do they?
That's a good point. But that being said, I didn't hate this table as much as I think I thought I would.
If I may, I thought that this table was poorly designed, and it's not the construction of the table that I blame. I blame the design and execution of this table, or rather the design of this table, and I guess some of the execution. Like, I can't blame the table for having bad engineers and assemblers.
You know what's a tough thing about tables sometimes? You know how they have like small details in them? You know? There's little flourishes and accents. I don't think the accent work on this table was very good. It was sometimes it was a nice accent, a nice flourish, and sometimes it was not. And I think it could have done without them altogether. But that's just
kind of came and went, you know?
Yeah.
You're looking at one side of the table, and you're like, wow, look at all that accent work. And you look at the other side of that table, and it's like, did they forget to do this side?
I think that's a big problem with the table, honestly. Nothing took me out of the table enjoying experience more than the accent work being weird. Also, the table just ends, I think. It comes to a strange end, and I think that there's more table there, or like something that was missing in the middle. It's like missing a leaf, and you should be able to extend it and make a larger table, but it just like doesn't have it. And I don't even think that's like a reshoot leaf. Like, I think it's just like, it seems like they just like didn't. It seems like the script fell.
It was a sequel leaf.
Kind of. It feels like the script fell apart, and then they put it back together, but they just missed some pages. Like, it feels like there's a big chunk in the middle of this table that just ain't there. And it's a real shame, because that's the part where the table develops.
And I think there's another part of this, too, where when IKEA said, we have this new table coming out, like 5 years ago, and you're like, oh, this table has a lot of potential. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty excited for this table. And then you just wait and wait and wait for the table. And by the time you get the table, you've already gotten several other tables that were much better.
Yes.
And this table just does not satisfy like these other tables that have well exceeded their expectations.
Yeah, besides the magazine that the table is based on, the box that the table comes in is easily the best part of the table. Seeing that tiny preview of what the table would be like, this adaptation of the table, I was like, wow, that's going to be one hell of a table. And besides the fact that the time, didn't work out either, I just don't think it delivered on that element either. It's just like, I don't think it was quite the table it needed to be interesting enough to be its own table.
Yeah.
So, guys, now that we're done talking about these tables, New Mutants, it's not a good movie either. What kind of table did you guys enjoy it near? What are your tables like at home?
Well, I did it.
Are we actually talking about tables now?
Yeah, let's talk about tables. We just talked about the tables as movies, but let's talk about tables.
I'm at my parents' right now, and I watch this on my computer in my bedroom where I do not have a table.
Oh my god!
So I watched this movie tableless.
You were the table.
I was the table. It's true.
Oh, shit.
You know,
DJ?
if you want to talk about reclamation project tables, so we have a table in our living room.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's a nice coffee table that Michelle actually years ago. His table was abandoned on the street, probably like this table should have been.
Maybe.
And Michelle took in this table, restained it, fixed it up. We got a piece of glass to put on top of it, nice, and it's like a very nice refurbished table.
Nice.
And it's a very good table. It's nice. You two've seen this table, in
yeah.
fact.
It's the Snyder cut of tables.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
We at no point were we like, yo, man, we got this like table that's sick, and then we had to run out and find a table and be like, shit, how are we gonna make this table?
Yeah. Table. Also, the table's way too pointy. I think you're in trouble. It's the pointiest table I ever did see.
No, we love that the table's pointy. It looks so much better than the old table that looked exactly as bad.
I like that the table's still brown, and you can't see it amongst the other brown furniture in the room. I got a nice lift top table I bought from Amazon forever ago, but it's held up, and I do quite like it. And then also I have my computer desk, because I watched this twice. I had to see it.
Oh, you poor soul.
I know. Once I watched it in like a watching experience, and the other time I like watched it with Twitter open. So like, you know, but the first time I saw it, I watched, you know, like sat and watched it as if I were at a theater, a nice quiet theater that apparently exists in Diggins and the world of our listeners, but not me and TJ.
Yeah, we're the only two fucking people.
Everybody that replied was like, yeah, my theaters are good.
Yeah, we have no problems. Yeah, apparently
We all
Nando
have
and
to
I are
rent
just
out a
going
theater
in and
together with you, nice,
you
know,
guys.
theater goers.
I told you, you know, you're acting like I was crazy during that podcast, but you're just weird bad luck charms.
Apparently, I mean, maybe we'll see. Maybe there'll be a hard reset with my theater luck once theaters open again, and you know, people will take it more seriously. I don't know, but for now, I definitely don't have the experience the rest of the world has. But guys, let's talk about New Mutants. Now that we got all this table nonsense out of the way.
Yeah, let's talk about New Mutants.
We watched a movie about the newest mutants, the oldest, newest mutants, but like technically the newest ones because they're the youngest, even though they're not really that much younger than the ones in Dark Phoenix. I think they're all in their, you know, teens, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird concept. I mean, it made sense in the comics, as Nando was describing before we started recording, where they kind of launched this concept when the main title had been going for a long time, and they were all adults and everything, so they wanted to reboot and get back to teens with powers kind of thing. But it doesn't make sense in the movies where teens with powers has like always been the thing.
Right. And like I think there's a sense of there's something in the movie where the character is explaining the situation, where the doctor is explaining what the facility is, and I'm like, that's a good idea. That needs to happen if this is how mutant powers are going to go. If everyone's just going to explode into a big ball of fire, should probably put them somewhere until we figure out what that does. However, it does seem silly when other mutants in the world are still doing this, and they go straight to Xavier's school in the movies that came out around the same time. Like Storm has no powers, like uses like vague electricity powers, gets powered up by Apocalypse, does all the murders, and then switches sides, becomes good between Age of Apocalypse or X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, and then is just able to re-enter polite society and become a hero. Now, there's a reason why these characters are doing what they're doing. Some sort of what's the word? Evil. What's a word like evil? Bad.
Malicious.
Malicious. Yes. Some sort of malicious reason. But it still makes me go like, you guys should put people in these. You should put Storm in this. She should have to do this for a while because she might kill everybody.
Is it bad that I only just realized what you were hinting at?
Oh,
after
maybe. I don't know. It's hard to. But yeah, I think there's a certain element of it that like as its own thing. If this were completely separate from everything else, I'd be like, yeah, that's a good idea. Mutants are all bad, and they need to be like, there needs to be somewhere where they can all just fuck around for a couple of years while they explode and kill everyone around them, but not the real people in the world.
Oh God, not cool, man, not cool.
Well, I'm saying like in a good world, if a good version of this existed, I just think it's crazy that they go straight to the X-Men Institute. And then every so often, especially the comics, there's some sort of disaster in the X-Men Institute. And I'm like, yeah, these kids are 12. Like, they're not good at this yet. What if the kid that you bring explodes? They should have to, work it out on like an island by themselves. And then they go to society and explode. Like, it sucks, but also that's what happens. Just how I deal with that. But also, lots of the
fair.
X-Men have these moments, right? Like in the original X-Men 1 movie, Rogue, almost kills her boyfriend. There's a scene in one of these, I guess it's like X-Men Apocalypse, where Cyclops accidentally blows up a bathroom with his optic rays and stuff. So like all of these horror stories that these characters have of like the one terrible thing they did, I'm like, if that happened to all of them and they were all just fine. They all just came to the cheery old Xavier Institute. I don't know. It's a great movie. I liked it. I didn't like it. It was okay.
Oh my God.
It's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah,
it's not the worst thing I've ever seen either.
Do you think, DJ, you seem to hate it the most? Do you think it's worse than all the other X? Where do you think it fits in the X-Men movie list?
I'll be honest. I think this movie has a lot of flaws. I'm probably projecting more hate onto it than like I actually have. Like, it's not actually worse than Money Plane. What was that, Diggins?
For comedy joke purposes.
Yeah, well, and mine had cows. It was probably a lot worse than your guys'. It's like a lot of the beats probably just didn't make sense. But like, this is not the worst X-Men movie ever made because that belongs to X3, and there's no way. Like, this movie with cows is better than X3. That's just a fact.
I don't even know if X3 is the worst one. I think X-Men Apocalypse might be worse than X3.
Oh, so ready? I've never seen that.
I thought we did it on the podcast.
No, we've never done X-Men Apocalypse. Somehow No, because I would have remembered watching it if we did for the podcast, right? Unless I
looks like a Power
blanked
Ranger guy.
it. Now I have to look up if we've done it.
I think we did it.
Because I don't think we ever did it for Mad Bracket status.
I think we did it in preparation for Dark Phoenix because it's the one that comes right before it.
Did we? Did I just
DJ?
blank?
Well, maybe DJ just didn't actually watch it then.
Maybe not. Everyone can now listen to that episode and really enjoy.
No, we did April 3rd, 2019. Nando and DJ forced themselves to watch the movie that made them completely okay with Disney wiping this continuity away forever, X-Men Apocalypse. Holy crap.
We did X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh my goodness.
The one where they're teenagers. And they...
like all of them.
Oh!
Yeah, except for...
The only thing I remember about this was complaining about how much I hated the Quicksilver mansion scene.
Yeah, that's in here.
Okay, so I really just blanked this movie from my memory. But you're correct then. Yeah, that's the worst X-Men movie by far.
I have not seen X3 recently enough to judge them comparatively. Because last time I saw X3 was when it came out.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I guess there's no reason. Like, why would you have gone back and watch it? Like, it's so bad.
X3, I think, has enough of the parts of X2 that still working, like just Ian McKellen's Magneto and Logan and a lot of performances. There's a lot of things about X3 that are stupid, like the Juggernaut and the way they handled the Phoenix and whatever. But compared to X-Men Apocalypse, I think X-Men Apocalypse is missing all of that fun stuff and just goes straight to all the boring nonsense.
Oh, yeah, and because it doesn't know how to defeat Apocalypse, so it's, like, really boring.
They all just, like, melt him with their beams.
Yeah, and
then Jean decides to go Phoenix.
Yeah.
Because she's always had that inside her. Also, maybe it was from space.
But what about when Magneto's family dies because a man is very loosely holding a bow and arrow
and then
awesome. Lets it go in exactly the right direction, that it goes through both of his wife and his daughter at the same time?
That was insane, man. Like, I'm remembering now. It's crazy how much I removed that movie from my brain.
I'm shocked. I really am that you forgot. I mean, not like I'm shocked that you forgot it, but especially while talking about an X-Men movie, you weren't even able to recall any memory of the X-Men movie we've most recently watched besides Dark Phoenix, probably. Maybe
right?
Deadpool 2. I don't know. But I think that's probably right there.
April 2019, that is 17,000 years ago. We make the jokes
that's fair.
June of this year was a year and a half ago, but April 2019 was actually a year and a half ago, and it might as well not have existed.
Yeah,
I
understand that.
What?
Things that happened a mere 5 minutes ago are dead to me.
Yeah,
I live entirely in the present.
I think we'll get to it, but I think this movie takes a lot of the mistakes of all of the X-Men movies and manages to do them again, which is so funny. But also it's its own mess. But listen, let's talk about the actual movie. New Mutants.
Ooh.
They made it.
Ooh.
It's a movie you can watch right now.
No, you can't. We stole the other copies, remember?
Well, we distributed it to every movie theater in the country after we stole it because we didn't want to keep it to ourselves.
Right, but if you don't want to go to the movie theaters, you can watch my cow version that Amazon is selling and just watch that one.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's if this were released in theaters earlier a couple months ago, what an absolute disaster. Why would they do that? Besides potentially having to release it online or in theaters before they could do anything else with it and filling that contractual responsibility, which it seems like that's probably what happened. But I've said this a lot. I can't imagine what it would have been like if the pandemic started last year around the same time and movie theaters closed before Endgame came out.
Yeah, holy shit, dude.
But man, can you imagine being I'm gonna risk it all for New Mutants? Ugh.
When Infinity War came out in April of 2019.
Yeah.
If you could remember that far back.
I can't.
That's my point.
That's true.
That's why, yeah.
There's so much of that. There's so much just potential for great entertainment. We all loved going to bars and watching our Games of Thrones and stuff,
Oh, man.
Favorite thing to do.
Remember when Game of Thrones was the thing we talked about and existed in our brains during moments besides when we're talking about how we don't remember Game of Thrones?
It's bizarre how much that isn't a thing anymore. How much Game of Thrones just doesn't count. It's great.
Yeah.
But okay. So, New Mutants. It's based on a comic book. Like Diggins said, it's based on the Chris Claremont in the 80s, the guy who saved the X-Men, kind of, although they weren't in need of saving, but revitalized them, decided to make a new team of young mutants. It was the first appearance of all of the ones in the movie except for Illyana, who had been around before because, as I think we mentioned on the show before, she's Colossus's sister. So for a while, she was just in comics as his non-superpowered sister who hung out with the X-Men and was friends with Kitty Pryde and whatnot. And then she got her mutant powers, which were a thing in the comics, and we all knew what they were. And then other things happened, and other powers kind of came from that. But in the movie, she just got all the powers and whatever, and who knows. But she joined the team later. The lineup in the comics was pretty similar, except there's a character in the comics named it's like Luck, but it's not Luck, and it's not Domino, but it's like Domino.
Longshot?
No. That's a good one though. No, it's a girl. Karma. So not Luck, but like there's that. So the character named Karma started with them. Didn't really work, I think, for a couple of reasons as a big member of the team. Her powers are very similar to Danny's, so not really worth having her. They did eventually bring in another couple of characters they're known for. They brought a woman from the 5th century or something through time, and that's a character named Magma, who shows up in the comics. And then also there's a monster alien thingy from space called Warlock that is a mainstay of the New Mutants. But besides that, it's pretty much what we get in the movie. Those characters are the ones you would expect to see, because then it was in the 90s. it was given to Rob Liefeld, and that's where Cable and a lot of other characters with patches and, you know, and like pouches and stuff come from. Although some of the New Mutants stayed on. I know Cannonball did. Actually, maybe not too many others. But anyway, so they've existed in some form or another. But like these are the guys, and as characters, they're all pretty great in the comics. They're beloved by many. Specifically, Magic and Sunspot, I would say, are probably the two most popular. Although people have their favorites of all of the group, you know, all the members. This movie was directed by Josh Boone from The Fault in Our Stars.
Oh.
Yep.
A very similar movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Well, that's the one thing that I keep hearing in all of the criticisms is like that one thing that's kind of like Fault in Our Stars. Yeah, didn't hate that. And yeah, I kind of agree. But I think they probably should have gotten a director that does horror movies and then had him do a teen romance instead of the teen romance director do a horror movie. So it seems like it's a lot easier to do one and then the other.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know if this was going for horror movie, but like, this ain't a horror movie.
No.
Sorry, it's not.
Yeah, I
I
looked up later after watching it, and like on Wikipedia it says it's like superhero horror movie, and I'm like, that's what they're calling it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like, it's definitely going for that at certain points. You're like, I mean, the characters react as if it's a horror movie. They get scared and turn around and go, "Oh my god, it's a ghost of something." But like, yeah, it's definitely not good at being a horror movie. Which is one of its big problems. And one of the things that I think the first round of reshoots, from what I understand, was supposed to do three things potentially. Supposed to add a villain who is the guy that you expect to see at some point but never shows up. Played by apparently a Jonathan Hamburger. So that was rumored at one point. I don't know if that was ever like put to paper, but that was the idea. It was going to add maybe another character, although it's unclear who that was. But because it was so hard, like, because it would have been reshot, like, I feel like it would have to be someone you could CGI into stuff. So I think it might have been the alien computer robot Warlock. That's just a guess. But the third thing was it was supposed to be scarier. They were like, we're going to up the fear, turn it into a proper horror movie. And I wish they had done that.
Yeah, for real.
That could have been, done better. But also, like, I feel like if they had just done some things differently in this version of the movie, like in this edit, you could have gotten away with it too. Specifically, less screens explaining what everything's up to and like what's happening.
Oh god,
less
the
computers.
Screens.
Yeah.
When are movies going to stop doing that? Like, it's so much better. Sorry.
No, that's it. I just agree. Like, it's the worst.
If she would have been on the phone and been like, her psionic energy's off the charts, then what do we do? I'm worried that this thing is happening. Like, even that, while not good, is better.
Well, yeah, or just like her, her being like, I don't know what to do. It's a real disaster. Okay, are you sure? If we gotta, okay, goodbye. But also, and even that, but also just fucking screens telling us, like, there are bits where, like, it does kind of feel like it's going for something where it's like, ooh, what's actually going on here? Why did this character have this weird vision? And then it immediately cuts to the night vision of Danny being like, oh, psionic energy spiking. Watch out. She might be doing some mirages around here, one or the other. Watch out. Like, and it's just like, fuck, movie. You had one thing. You had one card you could play at some point, and it's that. And the characters figured out later. There's like a bit that is your kind of second or third act. Maybe I don't know if it happens right near the middle, but it's like somewhere between the middle of the second and third act where, like, what's her name? Fucking
Dr. Reyes?
No, Magic is like comes in.
Ilyana,
yeah. Ilyana's like, it's her. She's doing it. So we gotta deal with that. And I'm like, yeah, that should be the reveal there, but it's not, and it's crazy that it's not.
And that's why I'm like, oh, well, it's not her because there we have it, right?
And it's so obvious that it is her that they must be trying to misdirect us.
Right. And, like, there's ways you can do that, too. So, yeah, I would say it's like your second or third act moment. But there's ways you could do that where, like, there's a thing that happens at the very end of the movie that I think makes less sense if it is the way it is, and more sense if it's just a completely different thing. And like that would be a little like, oh yeah, we thought we could solve the problem this way, but we can't because this problem isn't that kind of problem. I don't think the movie would have set that up. Like, I don't think that's something you could fix in editing. But I definitely think getting rid of all of the table setting with, like, the editing to Danny's psionic energy meters going off the charts whenever something bad happens. Like, I think this movie is a real big problem with subtlety.
Yeah.
And I think no moment typified that better than when they're all hanging out. First time we see them all hanging out in the, like, team rec room, just fucking around. Do you guys remember what's on the TV screen during it?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
What Buffy the Vampire Slayer bit, DJ?
Oh, I can't remember.
Because there's two bits that we see quite Oh, well, that would be when Willow, played by Allison Hannigan, is first sharing her first kiss with her girlfriend Tara.
Oh, that's right.
Is a character watching on to that and being like, "Huh, interesting." And is it?
Yeah, I think Rain, played by Maisie Williams, the wolf girl, is watching it and not learning anything about herself or anything in that moment.
Like, I was pretty excited to watch it with the person I was watching it with because I was like, oh, this will be like a fun thing. They'll watch it and be like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. But then the movie was like, don't you see this coming, audience? In case you missed it, here is the movie. Like, what the fuck are they watching? It's I hate that. There's a lot of...
Yeah, that sucks.
I can't imagine there's many teenagers in 2020 who watch Buffy. No shade on Buffy as a program. It's just... That show came out in the 90s, and teens don't tend to watch old 90s shows.
So I'm trying to make sure, is there anything that dates this movie time-wise besides the computer? One of the characters has a phone, but, like, that could be any phone.
Yeah.
And, like, he's listening to music on headphones, but those, you know, they seem like modern headphones, but I'm not confident they are. And obviously this movie was written in 2015, so it's a 2015-ish kind of... I feel like...
Oh, wait,
I mean,
yes, there is.
Okay.
What?
Ilyana calls Danny Standing Rock.
Oh, is that like a... Oh!
Yeah, how does that date?
I think that dates all the... Like, that's like a bunch of things, right? That's just like a place.
Yeah, but there's one specific reason it entered the public consciousness.
That's
which
fair.
were the protests for the pipeline, which happened only a few years ago.
Yeah. So that was like, I think you could have convinced me, were it not for a couple things, that this movie takes place in the year 2000, or like whenever the heyday of Buffy was around then.
Right.
It doesn't because of those things, and because I think like headphone, cell phone. I think there's a couple of others, but
this is really stupid. But it might not be in the team rec room, but it might be like the scene where they're meditating. There's a board game called Sequence that I've played, and I'm looking what year that game came out.
There were a couple things like that in the meditation room. Sequence was definitely there, and I was like, that looked weird.
Right? When did Sequence come out?
And that was in the rec room. I want to say there was even something else that seemed more out of place in that.
Never mind. The game came out in like the 70s, so it could have been any time.
Yeah, well, that's true, but also I think there was another game in there that made me go like, that's weird set dressing. I'm surprised that's what the thing that they have is.
Well, and there were three board games, right? And it's so random. Another random thing where, like, the kid wearing headphones, like, I own those headphones, and they're not, like, bad headphones, but I wouldn't call them, like, nice. Like, they're not, like, Beats. Like, they weren't getting any product placement points from anyone, right?
I mean, they're pretty good headphones, considering what they can block out. They might be the best headphones in the history of headphones.
Maybe I have a different one.
Yeah. I mean, DJ, wear those headphones, sure, but not when you think you may be in mortal danger.
Oh my
Even after some mortal danger that happened yesterday, like, or earlier that day, maybe cool it with the headphones.
But also, as long as you remember that you have superpowers, the danger's not actually that mortal.
God.
That's fair.
I was screaming at the television, pull out your fucking sword! What are you doing? Like, it's weird that, like, at the tense parts in this movie, it was like any other horror movie where like the teenagers have to use a fire extinguisher, but
Yeah.
then you're like, wait, they're superheroes. Why are they using fire extinguishers to beat up the baddies?
No, I agree. I think these characters are at varying levels of like superhero competence, with Magic at the top, and I would guess like Danny at the bottom, but then maybe right under or right over her sunspot. So there. Okay, let's name the characters. So there's 5 main characters plus the Doctor. The Doctor is Dr. Cecilia Reyes, who is a comic character who's just an X-Man who's a doctor who can make shields. That's her whole deal. Nothing sinister about it. Nothing. You know, she's her thing that's more
She's
interesting.
not left-handed?
Oh God, thank God, no. She's got 2 right hands. Actually, that's her mutant power.
I was gonna say, Nando, did you say sinister?
I did say sinister. She's actually
Oh.
her thing. It's interesting is she decides that she doesn't want to be an X-Men, just wants to be a doctor. So she's like, I can make shields, and if you really need me, call me. But I'm just gonna go do doctor stuff.
That's admirable.
Yeah, like it's like a thing that you would do. There'd be some X-Men that are just like, I'm not gonna be a fucking fireman, like, you know, saving the world from Magneto on call in case the Juggernaut gets escaped. I'm just gonna go do my own thing. And
Yeah, I mean,
know.
I feel like mutants should be allowed to, if they want to, just,
right.
you know, go live a normal life. Just because you have superpowers doesn't mean that you gotta go out and, you know, fight Magneto whenever he's up to some shit.
Yeah, and some of them do. Some are like, well, I can only live in the X-Mansion because I'm a bird man or whatever. But a lot of them, like, she can pass as just a normal person. Most of them can. So, yeah, she's one of the ones that does. Do you want to hear something crazy? So that character has a bizarre handbrake turn into Villainville.
Oh?
Yeah, in the movie. And this is probably the one thing that I remember hearing beforehand and being like, oh, yeah, this guy doesn't get it. Do you know what character that was almost going to be?
Who?
I'll give you hints. It's an X-Men. Just throw an X-Men name at me.
Who would that have been?
An X-Men who's going to be the Reyes character?
Yeah, Reyes, the Nurse Ratchet type, like, warden, was going to be a different character.
Beast.
No, hold on. I can do this.
Emma Frost.
Wolverine.
Storm.
Oh,
What?
God.
Yeah, I know. He was like, oh,
My-
she'll be like their warden of, like, torture and stuff. And I'm like, you don't
My
fucking get
guesses
it at
were
all.
better than that. Jesus Christ. Like,
Well, yeah,
what the
I mean,
fuck?
the one you said, who was your first one? Beast. Yeah, Beast, I think you could
Yeah.
do it. Beast would be great, in fact, because there's an evil version of Beast that just exists,
Okay.
right? Dark Beast. So you could say that this well-meaning Hank McCoy type character has actually just been pretending to be Hank McCoy. He's actually a beast from an alternate dimension who is a villain and wants to experiment on mutants, right? That works really well. Emma Frost, sure. This is right up her alley. This, like, train of villain X-Men group.
Right.
Because, like, in the comics, she has a group of X-Men called the Hellions, which are, like, her little babies. And they
That was like how she started, was doing that kind of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's one of the first X-Men, or not one of the first, but it's, like, one of the first New Mutant storylines is they bump into the Hellions. And they're like, oh, you're just like us, but we're good and you're bad. And, like, you know, maybe you guys aren't all bad, but she seems bad, this Emma Frost character. So, yeah, right up her alley.
But it's okay, because eventually, you know, Cyclops managed to fuck some good into her.
She fucks. I like Emma Frost is great, and I think she's a terrific character. But in the back in the day, yeah, she was just like, I'm a bad version of Professor X who wants to start an evil school in Massachusetts, and they're gonna get bad guy names and evil. Like I think it'd be tough to see the X-Men and immediately look at their costumes and be like, they're the villains. You'd be like, that's a weird look. But I don't think you'd be like, oh my god, villains. The Hellions have, I don't know if I've ever actually, like, really gotten down to it, but I think maybe the ugliest team costume in the history of comics. It's purple and, like, pink. Split right down the middle with a big triangle of pink where the purple is or something like that. It's hideous. And I cannot ever, imagine seeing those people and being like, they're the ones we're supposed to trust. There's not something up with them. They're not a black mirror of our true heroes. But where was I going with this? Oh, anyway, so yeah, for sure.
Storm was going to be...
Yeah, it was going to be Storm. So, like, they have
my
no
God.
idea what to do with this character. But yeah, so she's like nothing. Okay, so then we get our main characters. Let's start in order of appearance. Danny Moonstar, played by Blue Hunt. What do we think of her?
It's cool that her name is Blue.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Isn't it?
It's cool that the ostensible main character of this movie is a Native American lesbian. That's cool. That's a cool
though?
representation thing.
Like, it is, and I feel like I like that it is that, but I think it's a very surface level Native American-iness.
Yeah, no, you said to...
Sure,
I'm trying
yeah.
to say some positive things is what's happening here.
Mm-hmm. I think the lesbian thing is interesting, and I do think that dimension of it is like, yeah, it's not that great of a movie, but it's got this going for it, so that's cool. It's a little different in that way. But yeah, she is technically a Cherokee Native American.
Cheyenne.
Is that right? In the
Cheyenne.
movie, I'm trying to think in the comics. I may be getting it confused, but you're right.
She's definitely Cheyenne in the movie. I don't know the comic character, so
yeah, I'm probably getting that wrong. But yeah, no, you're right. She is Cheyenne. She is a Native American superheroine, probably like one of two, which is funny because the other one's an X-Men. I would say is a Forge, the mutant who can build any computer. Is also, Native American, but yeah, she's an interesting character in the comics. Never been my favorite out of this team, but I think it's just because I think her power is stupid. What is her power, guys?
Well, like, are we allowed to talk about it prior to spoiler?
Yeah, we've
Or,
already
like,
kind of spoiled
we
it.
kind of already
Okay.
spoiled it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The way the movie presented it, and I don't agree with the events presented, but whatever, is that she manifests your greatest fear in, like, real life. Is that right?
Like, kind of. I'll give you a hint at how I think it is wrong in the movie. Her superhero call name is Mirage.
Oh.
So usually in the comics, it appears that she has manifested your greatest fear, but it's usually just a mirage.
Oh, well, in this version, that ain't the case, Sonny.
Nope.
They're
If your
very
greatest
real.
fear is a big pile of money, congratulations. Take that pile of money to the bank, you can spend it. Like,
Oh, my God.
I don't, like, I think a lot of the choices about the powers in this movie were bad.
Yeah.
But that one bugged me the most, because I think you can get away with it throughout the entire movie, just having it be mirages, but, like, they don't... Because, like, it is sometimes, right? Like...
I don't know. The movie was very unclear on that. There's evidence later that it's not just mirages, it's all real.
Right, but so
Yeah,
Berto's
and
one
in fact-
specifically...
And Rain's one.
Well, Rain's one is real, and I think, like, Rain's one is... I'm saying Berto's one is not happening. Like, seems to be happening in his mind. Versus
That's
a thing.
true.
So...
Yeah.
The rules of her, and like Sam's obviously is not happening, but at least that one you're like, well, maybe like, that like she could, I don't know, maybe turn
I don't know.
the thing into a big tunnel. I don't know how that one would work, but yeah, some of them are just guys that you can knock out with a big old punch if you
and also-
try hard.
Those guys, like, specifically at that point, people know what's going on. And the one character's like, it's not real. You just gotta realize they can't hurt you.
Yeah,
And then that doesn't work. So they're totally real, whether or not you believe in them, I guess.
apparently.
Also, and I know we said this, but, like, okay, not only are they mutants with superpowers, so they're not helpless teens like Nightmare on Elm Street, but they're, like, top-tier mutants. Like, Nando, who are, like, some real, like, F-list mutants? Like, their powers are just garbage. Like, the power to
Beak.
make your hair grow.
Sure, Beak. There's a character, some of the ones that are traditionally like joked about. It's a character named Gold Balls who can just make gold balls, like little gold spheres. However, he does become very important later on. There's like a really dumb power. Oh man, like what's his name has a sister with a real dumb power. Sam. Sam has like a humongous family from Arkansas or wherever he's from. Kentucky?
Yeah, Kentucky.
And one of them gets the mutant power Husk, which actually is a cool power, but it's really weird. Is she can like tear off her skin to form new skin underneath that is like whatever she needs it to be. So all in all, it's not the dumbest power in the world, but it's pretty weird.
But yeah, like if those were the guys at the mansion, I'd be like, oh no, they're doomed because their powers are ultimately pointless. But like these are all like really good powers,
and they juiced them up. Like they made them even better than they are in the comics, which is the weirdest part. The only character that gets a slight downgrade is Sam, who traditionally has a cone of protection, kind of. So he is not damaged by his cannonballing, and whoever he's holding is fine. And in this, he doesn't have that. But everybody else, like they were like, what if their power was even cooler and they were even more of a threat to the villains? And it's like, well, fuck, who cares? Like,
yeah,
it's not interesting.
It's so dumb. Oh god,
like
this movie.
And even Wolfsbane, like from what I remember, I gotta check on this, but Wolfsbane being like, I think it used to be that Wolfsbane had to be wolf or person. It was like it was like one or the other, and then later on, she like kind of managed to get this middle form that was the most useful. But in this, like, she's already got it, pretty much. She's like, I'm going to turn kind of wolf. And it's like, fuck, man, that's what you're supposed to do in the second one.
Being a bipedal wolf is, like, fucking OP as shit.
Yeah, and, like, being able to see at night and getting claws that you can just kind of use whenever. Yeah. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I think you take time to develop, and I think the comics did. I mean, magic is a fucking disaster here.
Oh my god.
And the comics, it's like, it's so complicated, but it's because if you want a character that can do all that shit, you gotta work for it. There's gotta be you gotta have something, otherwise it's boring.
Magic falls under one of the most extreme versions of the how is that a genetic mutation powers.
Oh my god, it's so stupid. Yeah. We'll explain it. And it's never been, I think magic, I don't hate that character the same way that I would hate, say, like the Vinnie Jones Juggernaut, or like, you know, the Silver Samurai, who's like a robot man. But as far as like translating a character, but I will say I don't think there's an X-Man who got the nuance sucked out of him as much, like, and just turned into like a big pile of nothing more than comic magic turning into movie magic. Although I do like the character, and I think Anya Taylor-Joy is very good. Just in general, but I like, and so I enjoyed watching her, but as someone who's like knows what that character's up to and like what's going on, it's just fucking like, it's insane. It would be like if you started your first Iron Man movie with the one from Infinity War who can make nanotechnology. It's like, that's so boring. There's, you know, you gotta build to it. But okay, so anyway, you got Danny Moonstar, aka Mirage. She can make your worst nightmare come to life. Do you guys remember what the opening narration of the movie is?
Yeah, it's the same thing we hear at the end of the movie.
Yeah, so,
it's the Two Wolves meme.
But it's about bears for some fucking reason. Now, I looked. I cannot find a reference to bears in this. Like, in history. It's not like it was originally bears and the internet made up wolves, and, like, this is the truer version. More,
it's not clear that it's really a Native American thing to begin with.
I was going to say,
it seems like it's just something someone made up in the 70s.
Yeah, even more interesting, it seems like it's something that evangelical ministers made up, and they would say in their sermons, the wise Indian man told me, and then they'd tell this story. So, like, that's the part of it where I'm like, this seems, if I were, you know, I'm not, you know, I'm sure there's people, you know, from Native American community that are like, cool, it's good that she's in here. But, like, if I were like, I don't know, the fucking, if I were like an Irish person and Rain was the first character that showed up ever that was Irish, and it was her movie, and her narration started with hearts, stars, and horseshoes, clovers, and blue moons, I'd be a little pissed. Like, and so I can understand that. Also, famously, her character always has a braid every single time that character is ever drawn, pretty much, and they didn't do it in this, and I think it's stupid.
Feels like small potatoes by comparison.
It's the small potatoes, like Superman's underwear, where I'm like, yeah, if you guys aren't going to do that, you're not going to do the big stuff either. Like, if you're not going to commit at that level, you're also going to fuck up the part where she creates mirages in people's heads, as opposed to just whatever you want the plot to do at this moment. But I mean, there's way bigger visual missteps that the movie makes with characters, and we'll get to those. But yeah, so what's her deal? What would you say Danny Moonstar's whole business is?
Well, she is a victim of a terrible natural disaster that took her whole tribe and family away, leaving her the last of well, I don't know, at least her family. And she's very sad, obviously.
What was the natural disaster? What did it look
like?
like?
A snow tornado.
Oh.
A natural snow tornado. But also earthquake.
That also showed, like, rained fire from the sky, I think.
Yeah, and it seemed to stab a couple of people or something like that. Also, you guys...
it made her dad a really bad actor.
I was going to say, did you catch who that was?
No.
I'd say maybe the two of the worst parts in the history of superhero movies, whatever, Daddy Moonstar and Slipknot. It's Adam Beach is back, baby.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
If you ever want to show us that your movie isn't that great, just kill Adam Beach really quickly, and we'll know.
Dude, that's
the way to send the signal.
This poor man.
Yeah, no, his that bit in that scene stunk, where he's like, No, stay here. I just have to go help everyone. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
man.
what is that? It's your daughter, bro, and you abandoned her.
And who are you going to help? Everything exploded over there. Like, and you hear it's so funny. You hear for a second, like, he's like, hey, let's go. Everybody, let's go. Oh! And then they all die. It's like, what did he do? Just stand and wave his arms before he got mauled or hurricaned or whatever?
It's not like he was a mutant or something. He's just some guy. What did he think was going to happen?
And it's not like this is a spirit from the fucking Native American history like it is in the comics, and he knows what it is or something. It's just some fucking thing that she made up because he told her a scary story once.
All right, I have a question. It's like, are we going to say what this actually is?
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's in most of the trailers.
Okay, it's not a snow tornado that rains fire and blood.
I mean, it's kind of a snow tornado. It comes with a snow tornado. Like, it's also a bunch of snow and bullshit.
But it's actually this giant bear.
Yes.
Because she made her own worst fear a reality. Now, some questions. In all other instances of this thing, it seems like she manifests something that, like, actually existed in some form.
Yeah, more or less. Or, like, some slightly abstract version of it, where it's like, it's the girlfriend, but she's on fire. Or it's the monster men, but they're like what you're drawing is and not what they really are, or whatever the fuck those were supposed to be.
So this, some like weird eyes wide shut shit.
Yeah.
But this is like, oh my god, it's a monster bear from a story that, like, you were feeding the bad one the whole time. Like, I get, like, is that, it doesn't make any sense. Like, how is that her greatest fear?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. How is that her greatest fear? And also, how is that, like, the problem with, I have a million problems with the Demon Bear. I think the Demon Bear I think Cecilia Reyes is the movie's biggest small problem, and the Demon Bear is the movie's biggest big problem. But
yes,
I think the Demon Bear as, like, a concept has to be something. And, like, later in the movie, when we will eventually maybe defeat it as a group, it's after a realization. And you're like, wait a second, was that always on the table? What does the Demon Bear want? What happens when it shows up? Like, what's its goal? Because it doesn't seem like it's what it is in that moment. But also, I don't think it just, there's nothing. It's no, also, like, it just fucking disappears. Like, I don't know. It's really weird. And yeah, the Demon Bear is, so, like, the New Mutants stories, there's lots of them, but the most famous of them is the Demon Bear story, which is similar to this, except in the comics, it's just a thing. Like, it's like, Dormammu, and it's just a bear that lives in another dimension and comes to kill Danny Moonstar because of a family thing. I think, like, it killed her parents, and it, like, wants to get her too. And
she's back, and he wants you.
Pretty much. And she's, like, all knocked out because she tries to kill it herself and fails. And then so the rest of the New Mutants have to fight it while she's in the hospital, and they have to, like, protect her. But, like, when it's that, you don't have to deal with this whole, like, well, how is Danny making it? Does it only exist when she sleeps? Does it only exist when she's awake? If she's unconscious, does it disappear? And, like, this scene ends really abruptly and throws us into the, like, now she's in the hospital or the whatever it is, asylum. And you're kind of like, we should be getting important information we're going to use to like beat this thing when it shows up later, and we have nothing. What else is interesting about her? She's a lesbian, or at least bisexual or something like that.
I guess they don't really have a long discussion about it.
Well, so there's a deleted scene that like is deleted, so it didn't make it into the final cut, but it was part of the original cut, so it's not reshot, where Birdo hits on her, and she's like, "You're not my type." And he's like, "What do you mean? I'm everybody's type." And she's like, "No, that's not it." So I think she's not into guys in general.
She does seem to, when her and Rain kiss in the graveyard, she does seem to be comfortable with the idea in a way that Rain is perhaps not.
And
not that she's uncomfortable, but that like she doesn't seem to have done it before, and Danny kind of acts like she has.
I think that's cool that it's not like some forbidden love thing. It's just like, well, it's forbidden for you because you're a fucking, like Shiite Christian, whatever. Like you got beaten up by your wonderful cardinal, but I'm just a normal person from everywhere else, and it's cool. That was cool.
Yeah, like it's 2020 or 15 or whatever year it is.
Yeah, yeah. That actually probably is the best indicator of what time it is. It's just like how cool everyone is with that. But yeah, she's a so there's that. That's interesting about her. That's it. She has no other personality. She doesn't want to die. She's a sentient being, I guess. You got that. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? I don't know. She likes to not. She like doesn't like being bullied.
So wait, here's a question. Here's a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing about the demon bear, is that it's fueled by fear, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, I'll give it that.
That's like the story that her dad tells her, and so that's what it acts like when it manifests, because that's what she believes it's like.
Yes.
And during the movie, the thing she's afraid of is the bear.
Yep.
More or less.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think I know what you're getting at.
So where did it come from in the first place? What was she scared of when it first showed up?
I think she was scared of the bear from the story that her dad told her.
Because she was just asleep, and then it showed up. Why? What was she scared of?
I think she's having nightmares of this bedtime story that her necklace is from, where her dad's like, "By the way, inside of you there's a bear and it's evil. And look, it used to be small, but now you're big and the bear is big. Good night." And I think it's so funny when she tells that story, and Birdo's line is like, "What? That's a crazy story to tell a kid." And I'm like, yeah, that is a really weird story to tell a kid. It's pretty convoluted, and it isn't helping me understand what's going on in the movie. But also, like, it kind of makes your dad look like an asshole. I have a hard time with it because, like, again, we're trading on her Cheyenne heritage for movie knowledge and stuff,
It's weird that your dad told you a story made up by evangelicals in the 70s and attributed to a different tribe than yours.
Yeah. It's pretty stupid.
And also, like, so is it the dad's fault that everyone died? Yeah. Like, is she in the clear? Because she says at one point, or the dad says, like, "It's not your fault that we all died." And I'm like, it kind of is, though. Like, she killed all of you.
I mean, it's not. I think if her dad hadn't put this demon bear idea in her head, I don't think her worst fear would have manifested in that. I think it would have been like, a scary
spiders.
Car or something. Yeah.
A local teen being mean to her.
Exactly. Yeah. Whatever else she doesn't like. We don't really get too much of her personality. It seems like she doesn't like, I don't know, being punched.
Hey, good for her for standing up to bullies.
Yeah,
my dad told me about people like you. Like, I think the line was, "My dad told me about bitches like you." I'm like, oh, I hope he didn't say the word bitches.
I hope he did. This dad seems like he was really pointing her in the wrong direction the whole way through. She was on a crash course for Problemville. But yeah, that's it. She's the main character. She has this demon bear incident. She shows up in hospital. She wakes up in like this magic hospital.
All right, questions.
Yeah, let's talk about the hospital.
All right, so she is handcuffed to a hospital bed, but only by one handcuff, right?
Yep.
She's not both hands. So, okay, so she's able to, like, get out of the bed and just, as long as you pull the bed around, the bed's got wheels, it's not anchored to the floor, you're good, right?
Right.
Second, her hand is not directly handcuffed. It's like leather strapped, like for a crazy person in an asylum, and that's connected to a handcuff. Like, that is what is handcuffed. I looked. There's like, it's like a belt loop on the strap. She could have undone the leather strap. So, like, I don't know, is that a test and she failed? But, like, what the fuck?
mean, when Dr. Reyes undoes it later, she doesn't, like, do some technological beep boop beep that lets it go or, like, use a key. She just undoes the strap, which anyone could have done.
Yeah.
Including her!
That's a great
the
point.
whole time.
Do you think that was her test? Like, she's dumb enough to buy whatever I sell her.
Yeah,
She'll think this is what I tell her it is.
Yeah, I'm a doctor. Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, all the shit that Dr. Reyes gets away with some bullshit between scenes. Like, the transitions from scene to scene where Dr. Reyes is doing a thing, I'd love to see the middle of it. And this is probably one of them, is like her handcuffing her to the bed and being like, oh fuck, I locked the handcuffs to this little belt thingy, and also I lost the key. All right, well, I guess this is what we're doing. I mean, like, if she's escaped, she can't escape anyway. The door is locked, like, by a special fancy lock that is voice activated, so she can't get out. There's really no point.
When she gets out of the locked door,
the bed?
There's the force field across the entire complex. So yeah, the point of the handcuff is just to make her distrust them immediately.
I was gonna say, if she just does it like regular, what's going on? It's like, oh, you're in hospital. We need to, help you.
Okay, are you both British? Oh, okay. Why do you say in hospital?
I don't know. I think it's funny.
Is that actually what they say in the UK? Because I didn't know that.
It's the same way they like call everything maths. They're just a little bit wrong. That's right, UK audience. Tweet me at Nando V Movies about how much your language is better than mine. Probably is.
Well, it's the same language. It's different.
Well, but you're like dialect. Sure, yeah, the way you speak.
Yeah, whatever.
Speaking of people with different dialects, we bump into our first person of normal dialect in the in the ventilation system. We get a sneak peek at a character who is the only character small enough to be this character, even if you don't make her out immediately. It's Rain Sinclair, aka Wolfsbane.
She's her own Bane.
Yep. I don't.
Isn't that?
What's the mark on her?
The W?
The W?
Is it a W?
She's a witch.
Is
the
W
first
for
one
witch?
is a W.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're both W's.
See, in comics...
Well, the second one looks like it was the same W brand, but the way he marks it, it looks like an M.
Right, and in Marvel Comics, a lot of the mutants have a mutant tattoo, like, mark that's just an M on their body. Bishop, most notably, but others, anybody from, like, some sort of evil past or evil timeline has that. So for a second, I was like, is it supposed to be both? Or do they have a W brand for witches? Or do they have all the letters and you pick what is wrong with the person? And you go, witch. Yeah, let me see if I got the W. Yeah, you've got the W. No, we gotta...
Yeah. I mean, DJ can vouch for this. At Catholic churches, they keep every letter of the alphabet, like iron brands, ready, just in case they need to brand somebody.
You never fucking know.
For whatever sin might have come up. Yeah, you want to be prepared in those situations.
I'm more power to him then, because it wasn't super clear to me. Also, it also wasn't clear if the W was secretly for Wolf, although that didn't make much sense. But it did. I did imagine a version of this where they were like, let's use that mutant brand, but we'll turn it upside down for witch. But that's what it is the whole time. But also, yeah, that gets branded later with an M for mutant. Or Maisie Williams, because she's played by Maisie Williams, MW. Ooh, maybe that's what it was. It was just so she could remember her own initials. Maybe she's like the guy from Memento. She wakes up every morning like, what actress from Game of Thrones am I?
She wakes up and looks at her two pictures of David Benioff and D.B. Weiss and say, don't believe their lies.
Motherfuckers. He ruined me.
Yeah, that's a good point. She's got a lot of vendettas to sort out. But yeah, she plays Rain Sinclair hiding around in the vents. What did you think of her?
honestly, like, whatever. She's kind of blank slatey in this movie. Like, yes, she is lesbian and she makes out with girl and probably gives us the most exposition we get, but, like, there's not a lot of range. I guess, like, we get a little bit at the end, like, I need you to wake up, please, please, please. But, like, otherwise, meh. And, by the way, don't blame her. Do not blame her. It's a fucking movie, man.
She is lesbian, Irish, Catholic with lots of Catholic guilt. The two facts about her are those things, and they are never connected in the entire movie.
No.
The movie makes no attempt to consider how these things are related.
Well, and that's the funny thing about X-Men is usually the powers are a metaphor for something. The discrimination is a metaphor for racial discrimination or whatever. And sometimes they get in trouble for that because it's like, well, you're talking about gay people, but you're not showing gay people. And I understand that. But in this instance, they were talking about gay people. The metaphor was for, like, the metaphor was kind of the same metaphor, but yeah, they never cross paths, and it's so bizarre. Because I think, God, I should think about this. It must be, right? In any of the movies, she's the first, like, non-straight X-Man.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen all of the X-Men movies, and also I don't remember. No, wait, no. Yes, hold on. My brain is
There
melting.
are X-Men who aren't straight, and I guess, like, Deadpool is, like, sometimes into guys, but never in the movies.
Right.
And, what's her name? Negasonic Teenage Warhead has a girlfriend.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
And then also, like, the character Richter shows up in the Logan movie, and he is canonically gay, but it doesn't come up because he's like 10 or whatever. But funny enough, he's gay. He dates Wolfsbane and then has a love affair with another guy, X-Man, and pregnancy scares him into staying with her. It's a pretty awful comic.
Wow. That sounds bad.
Oh, yeah, no. Wolfsbane, I would say, out of all of these, is the one who I'm the least excited about, just because all of her comics I do not care for. And, like, all of her storylines are dumb. She spends most of her time in the comics. Not most of her time, but one of the most notable things she did is have a love-like relationship with the Asgardian wolf god. I don't know his name, but there's one of them. And they, like, have a baby.
Fenris?
No, so it's like a wolf person god. I don't remember its name. But it's like her. Like it's oh God, I can't remember. But yeah. So there's Richter, and then the other one is Iceman is gay, but not really. It's so funny how they did that. Have you guys ever heard how they made him gay in the comics?
No.
Awesome. So there was this one time, maybe like 4 or 5 years back, where all of the X-Men, there were 3 versions of X-Men running around. There was young X-Men, like from the olden days, from like the 60s, that were teleported into the current timeline where the X-Men are kind of adults. There was also a future X-Men group from like a more dystopian timeline. It was like Beast, and he had like horns, and Iceman was like lots of ice instead of just like a normal amount of ice, whatever. And they all like worked together to try to figure out what was going on. And at one point, Jean is talking to current life Bobby, and she's like, "Hey, by the way, I read the other Iceman, future Iceman's mind. You're gay?" And he's like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Yeah, you are. I checked on him. He is. So are you?" And he's like, I don't know, maybe. And that's how he came out in the comics. It's the worst.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway,
That's a fucking shame.
yeah, I know. It's crazy because these are the fucking like oppressed minority like superheroes. You would assume they would have this under control, and they do. Like, there's a fair amount of LGBTQ. Like, there's like North Star is an X-Men who has not X-Men. Well, he's a mutant. He's part of Alpha Flight. He's got like super speed powers, and he was, I think, the first like gay wedding in comics. So like, there's that. But also, man, there's so many times where they have just stumbled with this kind of stuff in a way that is not like funny, but kind of like ironic or like silly,
Like cringy.
yeah, like laughable. Like, you're like, Jesus Christ, how is, like, you know,
Read the room.
how is Superman doing discrimination better than you? You're the discrimination ones, like, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, those are her 2 traits. She's kind of like timid. What did you think of her Irish accent?
It's fine.
It comes and goes a bit, but it's
Yeah.
mostly fine.
Yeah. Well, that's like the Russian accent with Anya Taylor-Joy.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. But I think her accent, out of all of the accents, was the least like aggressively tough to listen to. It was hard to hear some of the things she was saying, though.
Well, I think since it was like going for like sad, you're sad, be sad because you're stuck here and your friends, you're just all gonna die here. So I wasn't sure like how to read that,
I'm just saying, like, there were some things that her character said that were kind of just quiet-ish, and also like phrases that aren't normal phrases. Like, I feel like with an accent, I don't know if this is how it works, but usually I imagine they do a little, like, you start slow and like, hi, my name's Rain, I'm this one, I'm a wolf lady, and here we go, and then later we start turning phrases. But the first scene where she talks, is it the first scene where she talks? It's the one where Danny's trying to kill herself.
Yes.
And like that's tough to hear to hear what she's saying, but like she's just saying things. And the first time I watched it, I was like having a hard time picking up on him.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's why it's nice to watch this one at home with subtitles as opposed to in a movie without.
Well, I didn't have any trouble hearing an Irish accent because I am a sophisticated person who knows that other people speak in different ways and has learned to pick up on the subtle intricacies.
Wow! Look at this motherfucker!
Check out this mutant over here who has the power of accents. You're like Cypher.
The power of understanding and replicating other people's accents, not the language. I'm not as useful as Cypher.
No, you're up there. You're getting there.
If people speak English with an accent, then I understand it.
Actually, that's a great point. If like you had like Cypher and Caliban, like if they were stuck in the New Mutants thing, they'd be fucked. Like they have no way to defeat
that's
the
true.
fire people or like
There's plenty of mutants.
But most of the time, the people in New Mutants forget that they have the powers to beat up the fire people. So it would have been the same.
Now, okay, speaking of the fire people, so that's the two. So we've gotten the two like main characters. I would say like they're not the main characters. Those are the two we meet first. The other three we meet at the same time. Let's start easy and get hard. So first one we've got is Roberto Santos.
I forget.
I forget too. Whatever his name is, his character name is Sunspot. Roberto. I don't know. Whatever his name is, I'm gonna Google it.
Roberto Clemente.
Yeah, right. So he's in there in the movie. Roberto DaCosta. Duh. Yeah. So Roberto DaCosta, he has been in the movies before. Do you guys remember him?
No.
Absolutely not.
He's in Days of Future Past. He's the one that's fire in that one. He's the Human Torch in that one, mostly. That's the thing. This character is not the Human Torch, but the movies think he is. So he is. So he turns into the Human Torch and does Human Torch stuff. I do think this one kind of got it what's special about him a little bit more than the other one. But because he never figured it out, the movies never had any time to figure it out. So, like, we weren't able to do anything with it. What's his deal?
He's rich.
Yeah.
And he's from Brazil.
Yeah. So anybody here what the problem with this one is?
Oh, boy.
Tell me.
Take a guess.
Don't make me.
They did him bad justice. They didn't do the comic right.
The comic? I don't know.
He's too white. That's the thing.
Oh.
His character is traditionally, Roberto is a dark-skinned Brazilian character.
Afro-Brazilian?
Yeah, and they ended up with a very light-skinned Brazilian. Now, they've said, like, I think it was Josh Boone, maybe it was somebody else, a producer, but someone was like, he's just the best guy that read for the role. He is Brazilian, and we liked him. Maybe that's true, but also probably not the best possible person ever for this character. Because he's not that complicated.
Yeah,
he's just a handsome dork, kind of. Like, it's not fucking, you're not casting, like, I don't know, who's like a really tough cast, like Gandhi or something, where it's like we couldn't go to our normal stable of actors because we needed someone with all of this range. You're not getting Daniel Day-Lewis. You're getting, like, some guy. I don't know.
Well, Nando, remember.
His main qualification is that he's got to be hot.
Yeah.
This movie
in
was
all
cast,
definitions.
This movie was probably cast in 2016 before we ended racism.
Oh, that's
so
true.
Don't forget about that.
That's a
now
good
that we've
point.
ended racism, that'll never happen. So, yeah.
DJ, I think you'll find that racism ended in 2008 when Obama was elected. And now
Oh,
there's
that's
no
right.
more
That's right. That's
racism.
right.
Well, actually, it
My
was
bad.
2012 when he was
forgot.
reelected because the first one might have been a fluke, but then we were like, yeah, for sure, this time. It's a shame that there's no sort of Brazilian film industry that can pull actors from, Like, there's no built-in any infrastructure whatsoever. Now, take that part out of the equation. I didn't hate this guy. I thought he did his job admirably. He probably read all the lines right. He didn't have an accent, which is fine. Not everyone needs an accent. What do you think his power is, though? I'd be curious to see what you think he can do.
Well, he's Sunspot, right?
Yeah, but what does that mean?
Well, like, he gets his power from the sun.
And
Yeah,
what
he's
does
like
he
a
do
plant.
with it?
Well, doesn't he use it
He
to, like...
creates chlorophyll,
Yeah, he eats mitochondria.
converts
and
it
such.
into sugar to fuel himself.
Isn't his character in X-Men Evolution?
He is in X-Men Evolution. All of them are.
Okay.
Well, not all
Okay.
of them. Moonstar doesn't show up, but the rest of them... Well, no, Magic, I guess, doesn't either, but Wolfsbane, Cannonball, and Sunspot all do make appearances in X-Men Evolution.
Yeah, so it's just he uses the sun to, like, give himself energy and, fly around and be cool and stuff like that.
Like, kind of. I think the thing that I wish they had got at a little bit more with him is his powers. Like, his power is just that his physical, like, traits are augmented by the power of the sun. So, like, he gets super strength from the sun. And, like,
So he's Superman.
well, yeah, a little bit. But he has a very, like weak battery, kind of. So he charges up solar energy and then runs out of it after a certain point. And sometimes he can, like, do fireballs and stuff. But that's not really what he's known for. He's got a very cool look in the comics. Out of all of them, I'd say he's the one that they also fucked up the look of most. Because I think all the rest of them were... Well, actually, I don't know. Wolfsbane looked a little weird. But he's usually, like, all black with, like, little dots and fire around him. And they did it a little bit near the end, but in the beginning it was, like, kind of just he's Human Torch, and I didn't love it. What else is about him? But yeah, he can do fire, and sometimes he can fly, although that's definitely not what he's known for. And that's why I think in the movie they really did just turn him into the Human Torch. But he's supposed to be a little bit more of like not like a glass cannon necessarily, but like that's the fun part of his power is he gets to run out of energy and become useless. But for a while he's pretty sick. He's one of the stronger X-Men, and yeah, and if you're fighting at night, which this whole movie takes place at night somehow, he's not as good as he should be. There's a deleted scene where he's sunning, getting a nice yummy tan in the yeah, they got rid of that too.
Yum, yum, yum.
Yeah, yum 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 yum.
Lock it in.
Give me
Yum,
all
yum,
that
yum.
stuff. You got locked in. What did you?
Ew.
What else about him? Oh yeah,
Stop
super.
that.
He's super rich. He is. His family is the richest in Brazil. Now
All that UFC money, right?
now
Yeah, legitimate business.
here's my question with him. Right, we kind of figure all the rest of these characters are kind of like foundlings almost, right?
Okay.
And like
I think
mean,
most
yeah.
of them have parents that are not alive, sometimes because of them.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like so and that explains why the villain is able to get over on them and like why they are part of it. But
Yeah.
him, I'm like, what's he doing here?
His parents might hate him.
They
It's a
Well, the
distinct possibility.
implication from what I got from the movie is that after his traumatic backstory happened, his parents kind of like shunted him off here on purpose. To hit. Excuse me.
Ooh.
To kind of sweep what happened under the rug.
But like, so is he going to be a mutant killing machine, or are they gonna like they want to kill him? Like, where's he going
Yeah, I
after
would
this?
think-
I guess is my
Yeah.
question.
Even with that, I would assume his parents want him back eventually.
Right? They know it's a torture hospital. I mean, maybe they don't, but also like it's not like a torture hospital, I guess. But he seems really out of place here for that reason. But also, yeah, his other thing is he's just handsome and like cool, and it's like kind of not. He's kind of an asshole, but also he's not a bad person. I don't love his
No,
character.
he's just a dumb, like, pretty boy.
Yeah, himbo,
That's his whole-
right?
it's his
That's what
whole
this
character.
is.
Yeah.
I think he's fine. let's work our way up the complicated accent chain.
All right.
Let's talk about Sam Guthrie from whatchamacallit's own Stranger Things' own,
Stranger
the brother
Things.
from Stranger Things.
Yeah, we love the brother from Stranger Things.
He plays a character, like I said, Sam Guthrie, known as Cannonball. I think might be the
well, dang, he's just a good old fashioned Kentucky good old boy, ain't he?
Yeah.
So he's one of the only characters that gets name checked in the movie. Did you guys notice this when it came up in the movie? By the way,
I did.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, as the person I was watching, I was like, they said the sentence. I was like, do you know what his name is? And she said, what is it? Like, I forget whatever the line is. She got the line before that, and I was like, no, you're so close. But yeah, Rain is like, he launches out of the ground like a cannonball or something, and it's like, oh, okay. The other one is Magic, obviously, which we'll get to. But
Oof.
yeah,
Although I don't think she says it with a K when she says it in the movie, so it doesn't count.
So some people were like, I didn't even pronounce it like the word magic. I mentioned this on Twitter, and someone was like, I pronounced it magique. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know it was an option.
If it was like QUE, I would be like, yeah, okay, but it's just the K.
Yeah.
I'd still say magic.
Like Mystique.
Right, yeah. I wonder if people are just like, well, it's different.
Or if it was a J instead of a G. That would
Yeah.
also be an acceptable reason to say magique.
But she is, yeah. But anyway, Sam Guthrie, a.k.a. Cannonball, what's his deal? Like you said, good old boy from Kentucky, works in the mines,
Yeah.
poor, economic
J.D.
anxiety.
Hillbilly elegy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he does say, so that's the one thing. Him and Berto are friends, and at a couple of points, they have this, like, I'm rich, you're poor. Isn't that interesting?
Right.
Dichotomy.
I guess.
I liked their friendship. I liked how inoffensive it was. Now, they were both just, like, friends with each other, but they didn't, like, compete for girls or anything. They just got along. Because that's the interesting thing about them. In the New Mutants, they're usually the two only guys. So the girls do sleepover parties and braid each other's hair, and they, like, go shoot hoops and talk. And I like that they kind of had a generally friend, like, they felt like they could kind of be friends.
Yeah, I mean, they were fine. They were both fine. This is the thing about the characters in this movie is I don't think any of them are outright, like, bad. They just range from boring to okay.
One is
And,
bad.
like, none of them...
the doctor.
You mean
She's
Danny's
bad.
dad.
Oh, he's bad
Danny's
too.
dad, who's a bad actor.
He's a bad actor, and Cecilia Reyes is bad. But I think the 5 New Mutants, yeah, I think they're all somewhere around okay. I found him most watchable out of the ones I didn't care for.
I think most watchable, I guess, Berto. I mean, I don't know. I kind of liked Ilyana, but there's a lot of weird choices going on there.
Oh, she's my favorite by a mile. Like, I actually liked her.
Really?
Yes, I did. I think they fucked up her character big time, but I found her, like,
Yeah.
she was most watchable in terms of, like, I want to see her, whereas he was in a scene, and I was like, yeah, okay, he's here. He's, like, the thing about Sam in the comics is he's just, like, very nice and like, a good person and friendly and stuff, and I think they more or less got that. There was this one scene where he tried to act, and I don't think the accent really held up, and I didn't like it. Do you guys know which scene I'm talking about?
No, I can't recall specifically.
It's the one where he quits therapy, and they're, like, doing therapy,
yeah.
and he, like, is like, I don't want to get better.
Oh,
and it's,
yeah.
like, rough.
I was like, where did this come from?
Yeah. I don't hate his, like, characterization. He killed all his people in a mining disaster. But I just think his, like, that accent, man, that was rough. What else is his deal? What's his power?
thing.
How about that? What can he do?
He can launch himself super fast like a cannonball.
By vibrating.
Yeah.
Right? It seems like he's, like, vibrating a lot.
Yeah, it seems like it kind of comes from, like, his, like... it's funny, in the comics, he just turns into, like, a top half of a guy, bottom half is just fire. Like a trail of fire. So in this, it was more like little pink zippy lines. But I think out of anybody who had a visualized power, I liked this the best. I think it was interesting.
Fair.
And that bit where he's flying around in the daylight with the tied to the big old rock, I was like, that's pretty cool. I get questions.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it.
Oh, sorry?
I thought that was a good way to do it.
Where'd they get that rock? They bring it?
It's probably just around.
Well, it's like a big,
quarry.
giant slab of concrete with a big, giant hook on it. Like, the fuck did he get that? Did he bring it?
You just think it was around?
I don't know, man. It's a little weird.
It was installed in case anybody wanted to play chain ball and then repurposed.
Yeah, right. It's pretty good.
Because it's out in the middle of their, like, playground gym.
It's next to the
kinda
basketball
area.
court.
Yeah.
Poor guys. The X-Men have a fucking jet, and he's got a big old brick with a hook next to the
And a
basketball
danger
court.
room. This is how he trains with the big chain on a rock.
Yeah. His thing, I think I forget if I said this on the show or before, but it's weird that he can't make a force field because he usually can in the comics, and that's what protects him from danger. But I don't mind him not being able to do a thing he could do in the comics if it puts him in more danger in the movie. It's the opposite that fucks it up when they take the danger away. But, like, I like that this might, every time he does this, it might kill him. But also he's, like, all sad and stuff, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was reading this, it's like, oh, does he want to die? Because all of that, like for real survivor's guilt?
Yeah.
Well,
For real.
That's what got me about him, part of his, like, quitting therapy, where it was, like, before it seemed that he was like, I don't want to leave, I should be here because I got a lot of, I'm messed up and I, did bad things or whatever. And then suddenly in that scene, he does a complete 180 to, this is all bullshit, I want to get out of here.
Well, yeah, it's not like there was like a big revelation or anything.
What are
it's
you
just
talking about? It's not like there was a big revelation. He has this nightmare scene between those two scenes, right?
Yeah,
Right,
that's not a revelation.
But that's like a guilt kind of, like, it brings it back up to the surface, makes him feel worse.
Right, but until that point, the guilt was making him want to be there. And now suddenly the guilt, which hasn't changed, but has just had a more scary manifestation, makes him want to leave.
Well, I don't think
think it's dramatized properly.
I don't think it was dramatized great, but the way I read it is in the beginning he wanted to be fixed, and then after that moment he was like, I can't be fixed. You're not listening to me. This isn't going to work. Like, maybe I don't deserve to be fixed because of how bad I am. Because he was like described as the good one by Rain, I think, at one point. She's like, him and me, we're the ones that the doctor likes, and the other two are bad, and you're in the middle somewhere, I guess. But that's kind of how I read him.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I just don't think I don't think the movie gives any of their stories enough focus that they really work.
Oh, absolutely. And I think his story had the most potential for that just because of how straightforward it is. In terms of, like, there's not a metaphor. He just accidentally killed people he likes, and he's sorry about it, and he's a nice guy. He's not also rich and whatever. Like, and it should have been a little bit easier. And, like, he's not necessarily, like, the leader of the team, but he is a pretty, like, he's kind of like, I don't know, he's like the beast of the team, I guess, where he's not calling the shots, but he's a pretty solid guy. You can kind of depend on him to be useful and good. And his whole, like, setting him up as the emotional core of the group would have worked because of how simple his little, power set and backstory is. But I think they took it pretty. I think the problem with we didn't get enough therapy scenes. We definitely didn't get enough one-on-one time with everybody. Everybody's always fighting, and then they're not. They all love to party together, which is weird.
No, they're teenagers. I get it.
Well, I mean, like, but they go from, like, being all sad and fighting and being at each other's throats to, like, doing a breakfast club, like, minute to minute, because they're bored.
Well, to be fair, we don't know the time lapses because the movie's very unclear. Like, Danny could have been there for 3 years, or she could have been there for, like, 2 weeks. It's very unclear. Well, how much time is going by?
I'm going to assume
she could have been there for like 2 days.
I think it was 2 days because I think whenever she goes to sleep, stuff happens. I think that's like the power explanation, and like how that plays out. But I don't know. There's also his horror movie scene is the mines. I like that scene, except it wasn't very long and nothing happened. But like, aesthetically, I didn't mind it.
It looked kind of cool, like how as he walked along the rows of miners, they all turned to face him, and the light is shining in the camera, so you don't see any of their faces clearly. That was kind of cool.
You're kind of like with that, because that's the first one too, besides the bear, and you're like, oh, they're up to something.
Well, so here's my question. So again, is it like a greatest fear thing or a horrible thing that happened to you thing? Because, like, is his greatest fear minors? Like,
I think it's like
his greatest fear is accidentally killing his dad.
Yeah.
And it was his whole life, so it's really unfortunate that it ended up happening.
I think most of them,
right?
Yeah, I think most
It's
of
so
them are
confusing.
worst thing that happened to you.
But then what about the bear? The bear never happened. That this movie's very
Well, but nothing
inconsistent
bad
with that
happened to
power.
her, so she had to invent something, I guess. I mean, yeah, her power sucks, and it's the worst one.
Tragedy must unfold.
Fair. Maybe she did get mauled by a bear earlier that day, but didn't tell anybody. You know, maybe.
And then also healed completely in the span of a day.
Yeah.
Left it out of the backstory. It's unfortunate.
All right, last character. That is not the priest hallucination, who is the other actor credited in this movie. But the last new mutant is Ilyana Rasputin, a.k.a. Majik. Not really, though. What do we think of her?
I feel like she has the most character out of all of them. But it's kind of like a one note. It's like, I'm mean. Because I guess a bad thing happened to me, and I killed a lot of guys, and they probably deserved it, but I'm a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's the most interesting character, and they're, like, doing the most with her, but that's a very relative thing, and there's not a... And it's like DJ said, it's very one note.
I agree. I also think her actress is probably the best actor. Like, I think Anya Taylor-Joy is probably the most... like well suited to take on a weird role like this, even though the accent thing doesn't quite hold up.
I was gonna say maybe not the most suited for a Russian accent.
Do you know where she's from, by the way? I actually learned this the other day. I was watching an interview. She's
the Czechia.
No, she's.
No, I made that up. I have no idea.
I mean, you know, it's not a terrible guess. She's I think she was born in America, but raised almost entirely in Brazil. Yeah, and spoke Spanish her whole life, even though that's not the but I think she did anyway. That's the way I heard it in the interview. And learned.
Wait, hold on.
I know.
She grew up in Brazil and spoke Spanish?
I'm pretty sure this is what I watched in the interview yesterday. I know it's supposed to be Portuguese, but I mean, maybe it's like her first language, but not her only language. Like, maybe they, I don't know. I'm Googling it now. But, oh, sorry. God damn it. Argentina. I'm wrong. I got it confused.
That makes way more sense.
Yeah, that does make way more sense. So anyway, Argentine... So, American-born, English-Argentine. She learned to speak English from Harry Potter movies. So that may explain the accent problem.
Maybe.
Or just, like, the confusingness of it. I think she's great. I just finished The Queen's Gambit. I think she's terrific. I think I like her casting in this a lot. I think she's a good Magic. If she can quite nail down the accent thing.
It's interesting that she's in this movie because I feel like I'm used to seeing her in prestige stuff.
Like Glass.
Yeah, like Glass.
Oh,
and like the Witch.
Well, all right. Emma, right?
Emma, great. Yep.
Have you guys ever seen a movie called Thoroughbreds?
No, but so
I
remember hearing about it. It's like girls in high school, right, or something like that?
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
Oh.
But she's great in it, but it's a weird fucking movie.
I'm down. I'll watch that probably after this, because...
Gosh, I may have recommended it forever ago.
I think you did.
It
it sounds familiar.
Yeah. But anyway, she's like great in that, and like I don't know if I would call that prestige, but it's not Mutants.
No, yeah, it's like a movie that like is like a interesting thing. Like people, it's by that director who made Bad Education, another great one. So it's like a serious movie. It's not Glass.
It's not Glass. What's worse, this or Glass?
Glass. Absolutely, 100%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Glass is worse at everything this is bad at, too. Bad acting, the bad ambience, the whole awful world building. Everything that this movie does, like, not super well, I think Glass does really badly. Power's not making any sense. Fighting not being very fun to watch. All of it.
Ending twists being nonsensical.
Revealed by a stupid pin or something, or some, like, weird mark that we don't have any familiarity with as an act. Like, as watchers of the movie. Yeah, she's...
The similarities are kind of weird.
Right?
Now that we're going over them.
She was in Peaky Blinders, which I've never watched. She was in Dark Crystal, the new one, which I watched a little bit of, but I don't remember which one she was. And yeah, Queen's Gambit. And she's going to be in Last Night at Soho, which will probably be awesome because it's by Edgar Wright. And then she's going to be in the Furiosa movie if that ever gets made.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I think as a, like, I think there's very few things about the Fox X-Men universe that I would like to save. Ryan Reynolds, obviously, like, I don't know. I think we're good with Hugh Jackman, so I like him to take another crack at that. But I think she could stick around as the magic of this universe, because I just think, I think she has just about the right edge for that character. At least the way it's presented in this movie, although, like, we'll get into it. It's nothing like the character from the books in terms of backstory. But yeah, speaking of, what did you think her deal was?
What like this character?
Mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Magic. Ilyana Rasputin.
She's Colossus' sister, isn't she?
Like, yeah, but, like, is she in this, though? I mean, she is, but I don't know,
It's hard
man.
to tell. Like, the X-Men continuity is so fucked.
Yeah.
That, like, I don't know who's anyone is in, like, a grand scheme. But, so yeah, fuck if I know if she actually is Colossus' sister. But,
and, like, which Colossus? Daniel Cudmore or the one from Deadpool,
yeah.
you know? We got multiple Colossi running around.
Yeah, well, she's not CGI, so
yeah.
I think that answers that. But, yeah, like, I don't know. My guess is her deal was she was in some weird kidnapped situation, and maybe she was, like, assaulted as a child. Like, I have no idea, what her deal is.
Here's a question for everybody.
Yep.
The people who had her captured, were they normal guys who she remembers as monsters because of the horrible things they did? Or were they actual, like, weird, smiley monster men?
I'm going to say the first one.
Yeah, I don't think they were weird smiling monster men.
It's the tattoos, odd. I think, made them I guess they're Russian, you know, like mafia guy. Yeah, that like did bad things to her. And she imagines them with smiley faces in drawings. So when her fear is manifested, even though I think she knows that's not what they are, that's what gets manifested. Like, that's what shows up, which is weird because she's not just scared of them. She is scared of the smiley face icon, which is what Danny uses to rebuff her later in the movie, which is really strange. For a second, I was confused because there's a speaking of that, back to the Hellfire Club. When the Hellfire Club have minions, they all have this weird little emoji mask on, and it's not a smile, but it is like otherwise similar. And when I saw this the first time and like saw the trailers and saw that guy, whatever they think they called, like the Smiley Man or something, I was like, oh, it's like a Hellfire Club. That's like their goons. She had to deal with them in the past or something, but that's not it. I think it's what Diggins' first one. But if we're going with comic stuff, you could explain it a couple of different ways.
Could I give a weird factoid interjection?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I watched the credits because I'm like, maybe something will pop up in terms of, like, I don't know, a stinger or something.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They were going to shoot one, apparently, but they couldn't.
Of course. So there were two I pointed out. I'll save the other one for later when it comes.
I do know this. Yeah, I know where you're getting at. But go on.
The voice of the Smiley Man was Marilyn Manson.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
I saw the credit. I'm like, Smiley Man voice, Marilyn Manson. And apparently he also had a song in the movie somewhere. So that was one tidbit. And then, Nando, I wonder if you'll be able to guess the other tidbit I picked up, which I was like,
I'm surprised you missed the Adam Beach one. Well, first of all, Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Not a great guy. Weird that they...
Oh, I'm not aware. I know nothing.
They went out of their way to put him in this movie. Or, like, you know, he's not, like, connected to the X-Men in any interesting way.
Maybe he is a mutant.
Maybe he's a lame mutant. If that
he
guy
has that
showed up
power.
at the X-Mansion, you'd be like, ugh, try again, buddy. Go to the Morlocks or something, or, like, I don't know. Go find X Factor and see if they'll take you in, because we're not interested.
Go ask Strong Guy if he's
hiring. Get Strong Guy. Love that. The other one, I'm curious. Is it an actor?
So I'll give you a hint. There are two credits to footage from other media being used in this movie. One is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then there's another piece of footage that is used in this movie that they credit at the end of the movie.
Fuck, I do know this. But first of all, the other interesting thing about the credits, apparently they spelled the guy who made the New Mutants' name wrong. and he
God.
hates them for it. He's like, this movie is bad, don't watch it. Oh, God damn it. Oh, this is going to kill me.
It's footage in the movie. So think of where there's footage.
I know, right? Like, I watched this movie twice. Hold on.
And it might not necessarily be on a TV. Maybe it's like something else.
Yeah, it's the flashback, like the bit where she like reads her mind, right?
Yeah, you're right there. You're right there, man. You're right there.
Is it footage from Logan?
There you go.
Yeah.
Good job.
That's what it is. And I thought about that when I was watching it, and I was like, but it can't be. Or like, that doesn't make very much sense here.
Right, but it
is. And it's technically the same company, but also, who gives a fuck? Like, it's so funny that the Thanos of this movie will go unnoticed by most of the people that watch any of these X-Men movies. Though someone will, like, it'll be like a fun little, like, Screen Rant article. Like, did you know there was a Thanos the whole time? And it was this guy, and it's like, oh yeah, I guess they did say that name a lot. But
and we've been hinting at it this whole time. But yeah, it's super easy to miss.
We've said it about as many times as the movies have. Okay, wait. What?
Do you know what we're talking about, Diggins? Just before, I don't want you to get lost, or for our listeners.
What about the Logan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, it's okay, cool.
So then, all right. That is funny though. What's Magic Steel? Let's talk about it. DJ, I'm guessing
in what sense?
You probably know less about the character than Diggins in the comics and stuff.
Oh yeah, I had to Google this person.
Okay, so what can she do? What is her superpower?
Okay. She can turn her right arm into, metal protective casing, much like Colossus, but from what I understand, only her left arm, or right arm, excuse me. And then she can manifest like a sword that it's not quite like a lightsaber. Like, it's a sword that like a medieval knight would have, but she could cover it in like blue flame energy. And she could also teleport.
Is that it? Oh, okay, yeah. All right. Diggins, what do you think her power is? Maybe with more, like, you tell us what you think her power is. From the comics, not the movie. Or, well, okay, if you had only watched the movie, but if you know what the actual answer is, you can say that too.
I have a vague idea of the actual answer, but not enough to really, say it accurately. I think she has some kind of, actual magic powers in the comics. It's not just that she's a mutant. She might not even be a mutant at all, now that I'm thinking about it. But she, taps into some kind of magic dimension that lets her do a bunch of wild shit. In the movie, it seems to be a mutant power, but also she's just manifesting magic swords and teleporting and doing other shit that I'm like, how is this a mutant power at all?
Yeah. So, I'd say the biggest problem with her power is really one sentence in the movie that fucks it all up. I forget.
So am I.
No, that one's also fucking stupid. But no, that one's fine in context with her saying it, kind of. But no, it's the bit where she's like, I created the whole dimension of whatever, the purple, like the orangey blue dimension, where Danny goes when she mind crushes her like Yu-Gi-Oh. I created the Phantom Zone, or I created the Shadow Realm.
I was gonna say, isn't that also where Nightcrawler goes, though?
I think they're different places, but he does go to a different dimension as well. I'm wondering. I've actually never put that together, but he does teleport through a different dimension. It could be the same one.
That is very similar visually, I think.
Right? Yeah. Oh man, now I'm wondering. It's saying on Wikipedia, it's saying an alternate dimension, but I should probably just Google Nightcrawler Limbo. So the dimension itself is called Limbo. And it is an evil, fucking weird dimension. I don't know. Yeah, it does look like it is Limbo. Is it though? Not positive about this. I don't. Yeah, I'm still not convinced.
So basically, in order to activate her powers, she has to pass under an increasingly short beam.
Yes, that's exactly it. To fun music, silly party music. So in the comics, her. Well, okay. How about this, DJ? Do you want to take a guess at what her comics power is? Besides just what it said in the movie, what do you think what do you think they were starting with and ended there?
So she's Colossus' sister, right? So I assume that she has the same, turn body parts into metal ability as like a start. And then at some point along the way, she gained the ability to teleport. Like, does she have magic? Is she like Doctor Strange, where she can use magic as part of her mutant power?
Maybe. Perhaps. You're not too far off. Diggins, you want to take one more stab at it, and then I'll just explain it.
So she was a mutant, and then she was in a magic dimension, or was like experimented on, or some bad thing happened that also gave her magic powers that she uses in addition to her mutant powers, and that's why she has two wildly different power sets.
And wait, Diggins, before we move on, what is the mutant power?
I don't know. Probably like DJ said, turning metal.
So that's, I think, the most interesting part about her. That's not a mutant power. That's a...
What?
Yes. So, okay. Magic's actually really interesting. She's one of my favorites. And I think she has a really weird, she just has a bizarre story that I think makes her really bad for a movie like this when you try to figure out what her deal is. Because you can't explain it in a sentence, but the movie kind of tries to. So, yes, Sister of Colossus. Her mutant power is she can teleport. She can make discs of teleportation that you can use to teleport to different times and spaces. So she can go to different dimensions. She can go to different times. She doesn't usually, but she can under weird circumstances. Her whole story is she's Cyclops' sister, no mutant powers. She gets kidnapped by somebody. Or sorry, Colossus, yeah. Kidnapped by somebody, I want to say Arcade, maybe, an X-Men villain. And then Professor X is like, okay, so I guess if they're going to keep using you as bait, we'll just keep you here. And we'll be able to watch over you. She's friends with Shadowcat, which is interesting because of another thing she does in this movie that we haven't even talked about yet, which is equally confusing. But
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It fucking makes no sense in here. So in the comics, then she has the ability to teleport, accidentally teleports to a different dimension called Limbo, that is ruled by a demon who has a name that starts with a B. I should know this.
Beelzebub? Baphomet?
No, it's like weirder than that. I feel like I've never heard it. Oh, Belasco. So he's not like a demon, but he's like the evil ruler of this place. And he just keeps her there for like a decade. And she ages instantly. So she like goes in and out of the portal and comes out going from like 6 to 13 or something. While in this dimension, he teaches her magic. Also, an evil, well, not evil, but this dimension's version of Storm teaches her magic. She splits off a part of her soul into a sword called the Soul Sword, which is the sword she has. And that's a magic thing. Whenever she uses the sword, she gets the Eldritch Armor, which is like this silver armor that comes from her using a lot of magic that usually is on an arm at least, because that's where the sword is coming, like being held. Although it's not always the same hand the sword is on, so sometimes it's confusing. She's like the sorcerer supreme of that dimension, and yeah, she's like really good. But she's also like, young and kind of untrained. But his comic history is bizarre. Now, Dickens, do you want to talk about the thing that we kind of half mentioned for 1 second? The thing that you were like,
in this,
yeah.
Yeah, in this movie, she, as part of the shortcut to telling us that she has mental problems, the movie has her have like an imaginary friend, which is a puppet pterodactyl that she calls Lockheed and kind of pretends is its own person that she talks to. Now,
yeah.
This is kind of weird. This is kind of weird because Lockheed was an actual character in the X-Men comics who was like a space pterodactyl that hung out with Shadowcat a lot.
Yep.
Now, in the movie, and this is something I had a lot of trouble with, and I asked a lot of people about this, the best interpretation I could come up with, textually, just from the movie, is that she manifested Lockheed from the puppet, right?
Sure.
Because when she gets beat up, the puppet falls down. Like, the dragon disappears, and it's a puppet now.
Yep.
What the fuck are people supposed to think that don't know what's going on with that dragon if you haven't read the comics and you're just seeing it in the movie? It's got to be so confusing. And, like, if you ever thought that they were going to link this up to the other movies and be like, oh, yeah, maybe they'll ever meet with, like, Cyclops and Colossus and all the rest of them. And Shadowcat, you'd be like, where the fuck did you get this weird puppet? Can I have it and can it live with me? And also, is it an alien? And also, like, why is it named after a plane? But also, in the movie, it's like, yeah, it's her like little sock puppet thing. But it kind of seems like when I'm watching it the first time, and this is why I had to watch it the second time, I'm like, oh, is it something she met in another dimension and knows and talks to, but we can only see it as the puppet or something? But, like, that's not it.
That is confusing, yeah.
It's just that my read of her powers in the movie, she can teleport, which is a thing. Not through portals, though, because usually it's just, like, a nightcrawler with, like, a little bit of, like, electricity.
Right.
She can do portals, though.
She does make a portal. Yeah.
And she can do that through dimensions, kind of. And sometimes it ends you up in, like, a weird limbo dimension, which is a thing that she made up in her head because she is, like, a reality-bending super being who can create alternate dimensions, whatever, where, I guess, within that reality, you can make your puppet into a real dragon or something. And I guess the sword comes from that dimension, or the sword is just something she has in her heart. Like, it's just, like Colossus can manifest just metal skin. She manifests a metal arm and a big old sword. It's so fucking stupid in this movie.
Hey.
Yeah?
She can teleport, right?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why doesn't she just leave?
I don't know.
Maybe the barrier is so strong that it goes through to, I don't know.
I mean, you could say that, I guess. Like, she's like, it's supposed to be, I mean, this doesn't make any sense, but in the comics, it's like a psionic barrier or something, so maybe it negates that. But also, like, it's like it's a barrier that this character creates. So Dr. Reyes has barrier powers. She makes shields, and they're like, sometimes she just looks at you and makes a shield. But other times there's just like a barrier around a high school or like this asylum thing. But like if she falls asleep, the barrier's still there, I guess, right? Like, 'cause she's sleeping and they watch the rain. But she dies and the barrier goes away. So does she like have like a little ticker like going on? And she's like, check off barrier around the building. Yes. Extra barrier. No. And then she falls asleep and like that is in play. Because I don't know. Because then it's like, what even is the barrier? And it's a really good barrier because Sunspot at full power can't break this thing. And he's trying. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I liked magic in this movie, but I do not. I think it really whiffed her powers because I think they're pretty cool if you get into the details, and I think they could have done less and then worked their way up to it, but instead they did all of it and now left themselves with nowhere to go.
This movie can't help itself but just swing for the fences from like the very beginning, and also there's no time. This movie's only 90 minutes, which means I should love it, but
yeah,
it doesn't work.
It's so short.
It doesn't work.
I was kind of impressed that it was so short, but it could have used a middle bit where the characters developed. Instead of that one time they did a breakfast club together and we're all friends then.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is it wastes so much of its time.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's only 90 minutes, like a lot of it is just kind of like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. I also think it's weird that the characters all know each other from the beginning except Danny. Like, okay, we haven't even gotten to this. I think this setup for this movie is, like, incredibly preposterous. People may be wondering if they haven't seen any of the trailers for this movie. We have talked about 6 characters, the 5 New Mutants plus Dr. Reyes, and a bunch of monstery things, but we keep describing an asylum. So there must be other people, right, in the asylum running it? Like, where did the things in it come from? Do people come and go? Are there other asylum mates that just aren't mutants? Are there orderlies? And there's no one in the whole place, and it's so weird the whole time. I find it quite upsetting.
Also,
it kind of seems like that she just has the kids do the like operational functions for the asylum, but like why aren't they like? Why isn't there just like a cook here? Why do I have to make all our food?
Do they get a delivery of the food in trays the day of? Like,
yeah, someone has to bring food.
They need
right?
something. Yeah, like they gotta get a supply drop every so often.
Also, what's odd is, and to me, I thought this was very odd. is that, okay, so her powers is barriers, Dr. Reyes.
That's right.
That's fine. But she has 5, like, S-level, just below Magneto-level mutants here.
Yeah.
And it's just her. There's no other security.
Yep.
Like, what if Sunspot just decides to go crazy? Like, I hope you barrier real good. Because, like, the barriers are fine if she's, like, knows an attack is coming. But, like, if you get the jump on her, she's fucked.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, DJ, that until the end of the movie, none of the characters even think about the idea that they could use their powers on her.
Yeah.
Even when they're, like, being directly antagonistic. Like, there's one point where when Ilyana has figured out that Danny is the one doing the nightmare mirages, where she's like, I gotta get her. And Dr. Reyes is like, you're going in solitary. And Ilyana is clearly like, it's not like I'm being pissy, but I implicitly acknowledge your authority like before. She's like clearly like, no, I'm not listening to you. I want to do this thing. But Dr. Reyes just grabs her upper arm and drags her to solitary, and she doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Even though she has superpowers and can teleport.
That's the thing. The editing in this movie is fucking magic. Because that is a bit where she's like, no, Ilyana, solitary, and then edit to her throwing her in solitary. I'm like, how did she get her there? Why did she not make any pleas along the way? Like, yeah, listen, I know you're going to throw me in solitary, but I'm pretty sure you got to kill her or something. And, like, no one else had anything. Everybody else just is like, I don't even know if Sims do this, but they, like, you stop looking at them and their brain turns off and they just freeze in the area where they were and wait for you to come back and do more story. Because, like, yeah, nothing happens. And even them, there's so many bits where something fucking crazy happens and characters acknowledge how crazy it is. And, like, there's that one bit near the middle where Berto has his horror movie thing, or maybe it's even earlier than that. It's when Danny has her, not Danny, Rain has her horror movie thing, and there's like horror movie stuff is going on, and maybe it's even later than that. Berto just no. Okay, so it's when Rain is, everyone's doing all of their stuff, like everyone's being attacked by evil smiley men, which we'll talk about. But at one point, they find just Berto, like, pounded on the wall, just like, I'm getting out of here. We're going. And Dr. Reyes is like, no. And they don't do it. Like, that ends the conversation. And it's like, what were you guys up to? How dangerous do you think this situation is? What are you willing to put up with? How dead are you willing to be before you actually start freaking out? Because, like, I don't know, man. Yeah, the movie's bad. Remember when they dunk Berto in the pool? It's pretty funny.
She hits him with a broom.
She just
taps
takes
him
the
with a
broom off the wall and shoves him.
It's a pool
That was
skimmer,
one-
right? Or something, I figured.
I think it was the
Something
broom.
like
It's
that.
like you sweep the... Anyway,
yeah.
But it was great because Michelle, like, burst out laughing, and I'm like, babe, not a comedy beat. And it's like...
Same.
It's supposed to be, like, high tension, but, like, it's just like, but it's, like, legitimately funny, but not intentionally.
No, it's super funny. Because he's, like, going insane, and it's like, oh my god, he's gonna kill us all. And she's like, let me get the broom for this. And then she dunks him in the pool. And, like, because the movie doesn't know what his power is, that shouldn't work. He should still be good underwater. He doesn't make fire. He's just strong. Based off of, like, his stealing the sun's energy and stuff, but whatever. The movie doesn't know.
Also, what's so stupid is, like, okay, so Dr. Reyes is the only security presence on this asylum, but, like, she never breaks out her force field powers till the very end. It's not like he's going fire crazy and she puts him in a force field. It's like, all right, he's got to tire himself out. Or if Ilyana, like, puts her in a force field, like, all right, you got to listen now.
Well, there is the
You're in a
one
force
bit
field.
where she does force field Ilyana from fucking actually cutting what's-her-name's head off. Cutting Danny's in half.
Right. Yeah.
Because, see, I thought, like... Well, first of all, I didn't even realize that she had force field powers until that happened.
Yeah.
And then later, I was like, oh, maybe she's hiding that she has force field powers. She doesn't want the others to know, and she kind of talks about herself like she's human and not a mutant, so that she can surprise them with it if they ever rebel. And then I think back, and I'm like, wait, no, but she used her powers in that one scene, so they all know. So what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, it's really weird. Also, her force fields, sometimes they look fine, but sometimes they look silly. When she makes 5 little bubbles that touch, I think it looks pretty silly. God, what else? I don't know. So, okay. So, yeah, they're in this... It's weird that there's no orderlies in this hospital. Especially since, like, what we'll learn about the villain is he's got goons. He has goon squads, and it's the same... This is ostensibly the same group that is housing what's-his-name in Deadpool 2. Whatever, Fire Hands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, so they have guys. Why is she on her own?
Well, the problem is, like, so she makes reference to her superior. And at one point, they're like, oh, it's Professor X. Like, they basically allude to that. Like, they're fucking around in a wheelchair. They do the... Yeah.
Almost
right.
as if this is some sort of knockoff movie where they can't actually say it. But they do say it later,
right.
but still.
But it's definitely not him. It's the guy with all the goons. But, like, there's no... I can't say there's no mention of him. But, like, it's never explicitly revealed that it's him.
Well, I mean...
So, like...
It's revealed as much as that's his name, right? Like,
what do you mean?
The company is named that.
Isn't the company named like Essex Corporation?
Oh man, DJ, you're gonna hate this. Sometimes Superman has a different name than Superman. It's like his secret identity name.
No.
This character's secret identity name is not Johnny Sinister. It's Nathaniel Essex.
But like, okay, if you're not a comic book person,
oh yeah, no, I get that. That's why the Thanos of this universe doesn't work. It's because you'd watch 5 movies, and someone would go like, "You noticed how they were all Essex?" And then they'd go, "No." Because that's a normal name. I assume all these things that people have names are just a name. And it's like, well, no. You should have noticed the name Essex a bunch on briefcases and video footage and shit. And, like, it would go over everyone's heads.
Yeah, especially because they never actually reveal anything about the Essex Corporation.
Yeah.
Or, like, have people talk about it. Or in some way, like, reveal its motives or the people behind it or anything. Like, it's always just, there is an Essex Corporation thing there, and maybe they're behind all this.
And... oh, sorry.
You need the post-credit scene of Thanos smiling at some point, or no one's going to care.
Yeah,
right.
The closest they got to that, so the first time... So Essex has come up 4 times in these movies. 2 of them don't count because they're the last 2. But the 2 before that... So it's in X-Men Apocalypse, there's a post-credit scene where a character shows up in with a briefcase and starts collecting samples of Wolverine's blood from the time where he killed everyone in X-Men Apocalypse. Like his fun little cameo that wasn't very good. And that briefcase has Essex on it, and you're like, oh, okay. I read the comics. I know who this is. And then you, like, Google it, and you're like, I don't think he's in any of these movies, though. And you're like, is he going to be in any of the future ones? It's like, not really. But then, so then he shows up, the name shows up again in Logan as something related to the company that's doing the experiments on baby Wolverine, X-23. Although I think that one might even be more, like, almost kind of maybe it's Essex Corp. But you're supposed to assume the same blood from the suitcase made it over to this, and, like, that's how they got it.
I see.
Yeah. So then, in Deadpool 2, the Essex house is where the orphans live. Apparently, Nathaniel Essex has created a separate, similar housing situation for other problem mutants staffed by a single person, and it is completely disconnected. There's no branding whatsoever. No one knows. None of them are like, oh, Essex, he must know Xavier. You get it? S-X-X Xavier? No, they're just like, I think this is Professor X's house. The other weird thing about it is, and the closest we ever get to anything kind of, like, resembling the character itself is she has that little brooch or, like, the little pin that has, like, the little diamond in it, which is, like, what's traditionally on Mr. Sinister's forehead. But the thing about it that sucks, or, like, that doesn't work, I think, is that we've seen Mr. Sinister 4 movies, or, like, we've had references to Mr. Sinister in 4 movies, right? One of them takes place in the 80s. X-Men Apocalypse. Fine. Whatever. And that's like, he's just starting up. We never see him, but like maybe that's like his main goon. Or maybe that is him with his briefcase. Who knows? 2 of them take place in the present day. Deadpool 2, which I assume takes place today because he's referencing, or like maybe 10 years ago because he's referencing dubstep. And then this one, which takes place 5 years ago because that's when they shot the movie. And then the one in the fucking far future makes the rest of the Essex stuff not count. Like, it doesn't matter. Who gives a
Right.
shit? He's not going to come to power. And if he is, it's not going to be the way you'd expect because nobody cares. It would be like if it was all the all the Marvel movies, and then they did Spider-Man Far From Home before X-Men or Avengers Infinity War, and everyone was talking about that time they killed Thanos, and you'd be like, oh yeah, I guess that was how that went with him. Like, it's so weirdly out of order. They teased the bad guy into the wrong movies. And yeah, and you never see him, and it was maybe supposed to be John Hamm. There are rumors that he was going to come in and be Mr. Sinister for like half a second, and it would have sucked, but it would have been funny, and I kind of wish they did it. Because Mr. Sinister looks like a vampire with a big giant cape on for like the Phantom of the Opera or something. Like just the worst, goofiest outfit you can imagine. And he's supposed to be kind of silly and campy, and he would work really well in a movie that was good because he's a very fun, interesting character. And he's...
I mean...
What'd you say?
I don't know. With the way some of the X-Men character design stuff goes, he might have just been a guy in a suit.
Oh, sure. I think that's what they would have done. Guy in a suit with a little gem and maybe like kind of white skin and maybe like pointy nails. But if like they put him in a Deadpool 2 as like a villain and they gave him his full like ridiculous scaly fucking stupid outfit, it would have been great. And especially in the newer comics, because he clones himself and there's like a lot of him, the one that's currently in charge of all of the Mr. Sinisters is like the Tim Curry of Mr. Sinisters, who is like kind of daring, but also he's in it for he's having fun with it, like Dr. Frankenfurter kind of, and he could be a really, really fun character. And he's also like one of the 2 or 3 X-Men characters who's frequently pulling the strings. It's him, the Hellfire Club, and it kind of sometimes Magneto, or like Apocalypse and some space thing. But if it's an Earth thing, it's one of those couple. And yeah, he's never actually shown up in the movies, and this is as close as we've gotten. And his end game makes no sense. It's just to get all their blood, I guess.
Get all their blood, and then team up with 5 other mutants so everyone's immortal, and then just be chill.
Yeah, it's a pretty sick plan. And maybe he's been leading up to the Dawn of X reboot, and he knew it. None of the rest of us did. Okay, so everybody has their fears. We've kind of already talked about them. Sam, a washing machine is actually a mine. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's a cool scene, but it's bad for him because he killed everybody in a mine.
Yeah. It's very sad.
Bummer. Next one we see is Berto. A pool is actually fire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Anya Taylor-Joy, that wasn't her, right?
No, it was a different, that was hallucination.
So what's that about?
I don't know.
That's not his fear.
Nope.
And it wasn't...
his fear...
Well, that fear was playing the long game. His fear was that she would turn into his charred ex-girlfriend. I guess.
So
I don't know.
Stupid. All right, but yeah, that's the next one.
You know what also is weird about that character? Which is this is a really, small thing, but in the movie, he kills his girlfriend, who we see in one picture on his phone. In the comics, his girlfriend is fine, but also supportive and nice, and when everyone's being mean to him about his power, she's like, nah, it's cool. So it sucks that he killed her in the movie. It would be like if Peter Parker killed Mary Jane in the first Spider-Man movie. And be like, wow, he is a menace. I don't like him. Okay, so you got Berto. Yeah, so he has a flashback, or he has a hallucination that Magic, who he's kind of hitting on, flirting with a little bit. I mean, he's flirting with everybody, but it's kind of working. She gives him a kiss that one time. They make out, but then, yeah, his girlfriend does fire. Who's next?
First charred, then fire.
Yeah, that's true. Rain is in the shower, having a good old shower, when a big old priest shows up.
Oh my god. All clawed up because she wolfed him to death.
She killed him.
Oh, no. Although implied that she did so after he beat her half to death and branded her with a hot iron. So, hard to blame her.
She was in the right. Oh, she was well within her right.
And also, when she's like, I killed you, and he turns around to reveal his scars, I'm like, what did he die from? An infection? He looks fine. He doesn't look great, but I don't think he looks dead. I feel like in a better version of this movie, it would be a mess. Innards would be hanging out and stuff. But instead, he looks like Kylo Ren in between like 7 and 8, where they just give him a little cool scar. Because
do you remember what he says when she's like, "You're dead" or "You're back," or whatever? Do you remember what his reply is?
oh god, what is it? Like I have risen or something, or like
Jesus
Like
Christ
Jesus.
himself.
yes, that's right. Oh god, that was good. I like that, laying it on thick. But
So heavy-handed.
yeah, but yeah, he brands her again, and she's like, "You're not real," and he's like, "No, I am." And she's like,
Yeah,
I
like-
read the comics. This isn't how it works. And he's like, fuck the comics. And he burns her with steam from the shower, too. At the same time, Magic is having her one of these. And can we explain this a little bit? What's that deal with those guys?
So there's some kind of weird monster men who were in smiley face masks. And they're doing something to her as a child? Like, was she kidnapped? I don't know.
It's probably some kind of like I don't know, maybe
Death
some
cult?
kind of child sex trafficking ring. My read on it was an entirely mundane operation that was just very bad.
Oh, really?
Really? I did not get that.
Wait, when you say
know.
mundane, you mean like not superpowered?
Not superpowered.
Yes, I agree. I think it's just Russian gangsters that she was like sold to or something. Did bad things to her.
Not mundane in terms of like totally legal and cool thing. I mean, like
we get it.
it was a thing that happens in real life.
She was getting her wisdom
and
teeth
isn't
taken
about
out by
magic
8
wizards.
scary tall men or something. Very mundane, run-of-the-mill surgery. She just took it way too far. No, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's like because they're like human-ish, and they have like tattoos that you would expect on a Russian gangster, and they're wearing human clothes, but they also have like weird smiley face masks on that hide scary monster faces, even though like it seems like the smiley face is just what she drew over these guys' real face to hide their identities from herself, kind of, or something.
Like a mental
She's-
trick
I
to
think she
block
kinda
out
s-
the badness.
I can't remember what she says. She says something at one point about how every time the men came for her, they were always smiling. or
Yeah,
something like
that's
that.
true. She does say that.
And so it becomes like a monstrous thing in her memory because these guys were awful people who did awful things.
Right.
But like the smiles were just that they were super jacked about abusing a child.
That makes sense. And also they like it's funny because the other ones are kind of like straightforward versions of themselves, where it's like the girlfriend, but she's on fire. But these guys are like weird Slender Man. They walk on the ceiling. They do whatever. They also assault other characters that aren't her. All the other super, fantasy monster things like come from your brain and then fight you. There's no scene where like the bishop just starts
Not the
doling
bear.
out punishment to the rest of the group. You know?
Not the bear.
Well, the bear, sure, but all the other ones up until this point. But it's funny because all this stuff is going on when we meet. Because this is like Ilyana's nightmare thing. Is these weird slender men, and the heroes start fighting him. So like Rain, at that point, is like on a mission to rescue Danny. Ilyana and Sam are dealing with Ilyana's whole thing with these monster guys. Person I was watching it with is like, hey, well, where's the other guy? And I'm like, he's washing dishes. And then we check on him, and he is washing dishes because his character does nothing but wash dishes. He loves it. He's a chores magnet, that Berto. I love it. And he gets like that Stan Lee in the library, like, ooh, don't even hear the thing sneaking up on me joke, which never gets old.
Right, but then it does sneak up on him, and he's just like, I have superpowers, and blasts it away, and it's fine.
Yeah.
He was the first one where I was like, thank you.
Right.
Like,
And then we meet him. He's the one I think who we meet, and he's just banging on this the force field like there's a force field, guys. I'm trying to break it, but we got to leave right now. And everybody else is like, let's hear what the doctor has to say about the scary evil men. I think she's got a point. What else? Is there anything else that's important before the end? I don't know. It's like the romance. The romance isn't bad.
So I just want this isn't really an ending thing. It's a thing that takes place over the course of the movies, but it's just like a general criticism I have, which is I don't think the two elements of this movie, which is they are being held by shady corporation that wants to use them, and horrible nightmare hallucination / physical manifestations are happening. I don't think those two plots gel well together.
Absolutely not. Not even kind of.
'Cause it's-
I think they're plots that could both end up in a horror movie, but wouldn't make sense in the same horror movie.
I think it could even work, but I guess the why it doesn't work at all for me is it is so obvious from moment one that the hallucinations are Danny's powers.
Yeah.
That, like, any kind of intrigue you might ring out of, like, oh, the shady corporation that is clearly watching them and is evil, maybe they're doing this. It's like, well, no, it's obviously Danny. So we just have two different evil things that are completely unrelated, and they don't really interact or intersect with each other in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense dramatically.
No, I'm with you. I think if you play it, like if you cut the mystery element of it out, and maybe it's more aware to us as an audience that Danny is just evil monster, like Vision Girl, but she doesn't know that yet, and the main characters don't know that yet, and you make the doctor just like a doctor who's working in a normal hospital for mutants, because this is a service that I do think the public could benefit from generally, if it wasn't like all, fucking One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but if it was just like an above board rehabilitation center for new mutants, like, that's fine. And then just this evil Mirage Girl power kind of takes it over and turns it into a horror movie. Like, I think that works, but I do think the turn of like the villain, Dr. Reyes, being like, I actually do kill because I'm working for Mr. Sinister. It's like, he's not going to believe what happened then. This is going to seem so confusing to him. He's going to be like, we're the bad guys. Did we do this? No, actually, one of them summoned a bear and also dudes. And also I tried to kill her. And like, you didn't care about it. Like, you kind of cared, but it was like, this is too dangerous. I don't know. I agree. It doesn't make sense. I think you cut one or the other, and I think making Reyes just a normal character and making the hospital more of a facility that gets like perverted isn't the right word, but like turned evil over time, that kind of works, but not the one that this is. But yeah, what else is weird about this movie? I don't know. What'd you think? What'd you think of Ileana as a character? Some people were mad that she was kind of racist.
I wasn't a huge fan of all the racism she was doing.
Yeah, didn't love that.
I didn't love it, but it didn't make me hate the character. Like, I was like, I like that some of these characters are kind of assholes. I don't think they quite had the arcs that you would need to make them completely sympathetic. But in theory, I think that could work, kind of. If by the end they gain some sort of mutual understanding or respect for one another. But at the end, they're all kind of like, I guess we're still kind of like the same.
Well, no, the mutual understanding is like, oh, we're teenagers, so this is just a thing we do. You know how teenagers are just sometimes racist.
I mean, teenagers aren't, that's, I'd be fair to say it'd be much worse if like your adult X-Men started acting like this. However,
yeah, but I mean, like, you don't have to put it in your silly, stupid movie when it doesn't
advance
anything or like say anything.
I guess it's tough because it's like Magic in that scene, and that scene doesn't work super well. Magic has to not like Danny for some reason, and there's no good reason because Danny has done nothing to deserve her hatred.
Like, why are you so quiet, girl? We're calling you quiet girl now.
Yeah,
just do something stupid like that, or like
it's just like there's so many ways she could have been like 80s teen bully that didn't involve being racist, and I kind of wish that they had gone with one of those instead. It was
a strange choice, and also I didn't like. What'd you think of her like look? That character design?
Whatever.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, she's your classic teen punk,
edgy teen. Yeah.
Oh, I mean like more her like big metal arm and stuff.
It looked kind of cool.
Yeah, I liked it. I think it looked pretty good. I think the Soul Sword was better in some shots than in other shots, but it changes a lot. Sometimes it's like a lightsaber, and sometimes it's like a big white Buster Sword from Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So you can kind of do whatever you want with it. I think it was like okay in the middle of them. But I think out of all of them, I like the effects on her the best. It was like her effects I think worked pretty well. Cannonballs I think were pretty good. Danny had no effects, so she's right in the middle. I didn't like Sunspot very much just because I don't think it's as good as the comics. And then I thought Wolfsbane looked bad most of the time. I thought that always looked kind of like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I will say, for Ileana, when she first pulls out the magic sword, it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it is like a good like surprise. I will say that.
Well, but also the movie really lingers on it the time it comes out right before she goes to fight the bear, as if it's the first time we're seeing it. As if we had only heard about the sword, but it's like, fucking dude, yeah, we've seen it twice already. It's fine. We get it. Maybe you just wanted to make this movie feature length and you had to slow motion some of the shots. If that's the case, yeah. Completely understand.
Or maybe you weren't sure you were going to use those first couple shots, so you're like, just in case this is the first time.
Yeah. So let's talk about the ending. So in the end, it turns out Dr. Reyes is bad. She Nurse Ratched. She's going to kill Danny. Danny and Rain usually have like a psychic link that doesn't exist in this movie, but instead Rain just kind of follows Danny in general. Lucky for her, they could go through the vents and stuff, and
because Dr. Reyes pointlessly tells her what she's going to do before she knocks her out. So she starts screaming for help, and Rain has superior wolf senses and can hear it.
Well,
I don't know why Dr. Reyes telegraphs the, hey, I'm going to kill you now. Like, she's like, I had to kill a dog once when I was a vet. Real sad.
And, like,
Jesus.
If you're telling that story, to me, not great, right? As you're going to kill me and I'm strapped to a table. We've determined that Danny is, like, a monster psychic something. Like, it's not super clear what she can do, but, like, it kind of seems like you wouldn't want to antagonize her because she might do something bad. Like, exploded to, purple energy and burn the whole place down. Like, you don't know. But that's why I think this character just got bonked on the head or something at one point. Like, they do at one point drug her, kind of, or, like, spike her tea, Magic says, and then they're like, that's when they do their Breakfast Club. And I kind of like to believe that this character just had a mental breakdown after that moment. It was like, fuck it, I'm killing all the kids. I'm going to kill all the kids. I don't care what happens. And I'm going to let the monsters come in, and I'm locking all the kids up indoors, and hopefully the computer lets me kill them, because the computer tells her, like, mental threat, must kill her. From another movie, maybe, that Daniel Essex out. But yeah.
I love, by the way, talking about the computer, that there's a point where it's like analyzing the psionic energy that she puts out, and we see a little loading screen, and then it says some stuff. And then later, it's loading up an email, an all-text email that she has to read from Mr. Sinister, and it takes the same amount of time for this computer to load that email as it did to analyze never-before-seen psionic energy.
Never-before-seen psionic energy information that she does nothing with. Like, she is in the hospital with all the kids. This new girl comes in, psionic readings off the charts at the same time, and I assume she gets some sort of alert from this, although I don't think this is ever brought up in public. Cannonball destroys one of the washing machines, like blows it up pretty much. And she never puts this together until the very end. It's almost like she's like, yeah, I think she's probably going to try to kill most of the kids and like get all of them killed. But like, maybe one, maybe not. If only the email told me to murder her, I'd have some course of action. But I guess I just have to watch as she uses like off the charts psionic energy to make them all murder each other. I don't know. Yeah, I think she's awful. I don't know what it is with the X-Men movies, why they just keep turning out such terrible villains.
Do you think that Mr. Sinister put her there, Reyes, because he was like, oh, if I put her there with just a bunch of random mutants, she's going to die. So maybe this is a way to off one of my worst employees.
No, maybe. I mean, I think Mr. Sinister, if anything, was like, if one of the mutants explodes, maybe she'll make a force field and save some of the nice equipment, and then I won't have to buy more equipment when the mutants explode. But also, like, I don't know, Sinister, I do think Sunspot is a problem here, because Sinister is like, a not ninth, like 1900s, like, 19th century, 20th century, like, gentleman who stumbles on, like, genetic, like, trials, and he messes around with stuff. I don't even think he's usually a mutant. I think Apocalypse makes him one, but for the most part, he's just like a inventor. So I get that maybe he can become a businessman by the 20th century or 21st century, and like whenever this movie takes place. But like, it would seem Like, the money that the DaCosta family would pay him would be worth his trouble. Like, he'd want to keep this kid alive because his parents are the richest family in Argentina. Or not Argentina, sorry, they're in Brazil. They're actually in Argentina. But, like, it's just so funny how he's totally cool with, like, killing 4 orphans and Bill Gates' son, if it happens. I don't know. But okay, so the ending. So evil Dr. Reyes almost kills Danny. She injects her with some green, but luckily the green doesn't get all the way into her red, because then a big old wolf lady comes and cuts her into pieces. And pretty funny. That made me laugh.
Yeah, again, if you could get the jump on Reyes, she's done.
Yeah.
That's just the way this shit
Yeah, I mean,
works.
Wolfsbane is, like, easily the weakest. of the mutants
Absolutely.
here, right?
Yep.
And she completely destroys her with the element of surprise.
Yeah, and it's not even like Rain is like... It's not like Rain, like, it's like, oh, Dr. Reyes, hold on, I'll help you real quick. I'm the one you trust. She just fucking busts out of a, like, event. So, anybody could have done that with a hammer. Like, you don't even need to be a mutant. She is wildly unfit for this. And then, so they get Danny back. At this point, all the New Mutants have dealt with all their worst fears, mostly just the Smiley Men and stuff. Reyes...
I mean, the movie says they've dealt with them.
Yeah.
I mean, the degree to which they actually have is questionable.
No, they did.
Who's to say?
They did like a Batman, like, Scarecrow level where they saw them and they were extra scary, and then the level ended. So that means they're reformed. But then, I'm talking like, then Dr. Reyes shows up and she makes extra bubbles around everybody, and she's like, I'm tired of this. That one's bad. I'll kill her, and then we can all go home. It's fine. Whatever. I don't care. But who to our wandering eyes do appear?
Wait, hold on. I just want to say, before we get to who to our wandering eyes appeared, the setup to this is so against what happens that it was incredible to me.
Okay, no, go for it. Let's explain it a little bit more, because it is funny.
So, yeah, she traps all of them in bubbles, and she's, like, kind of slowly shrinking the bubbles to, like, squeeze them to death or something. It's not clear.
It seems like she's trying to cut off Danny's oxygen. Like, Danny is dying from oxygen stuff, and that's, like, her main goal. It's like, if I kill Danny, I don't have to deal with the big problem.
That's a good point. If they're in a big force field, how does oxygen get in? Anyway.
The same place where the truck that brings all the food comes in through the oxygen hole as well or something.
Anyway. And she's given this whole big speech about, don't you guys get it? It's been Danny this whole time. She takes your deepest fears, your darkest secrets, and uses them against you. This is the way her power, which she until this point has not been able to control, works, thus setting us up for the perfect dramatic irony when she does it to me, and my darkest fear shows up and fucks me up, and that's what saves you in this situation. And then a bear shows up, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
what? Hold on.
Turns out she also heard that story as a child. She also has a bear necklace because her absolutely psychotic father told her about the murder bear that lives inside her heart.
I have a question about this. Not the bear, like, fucking just deleting her. But, so at some point earlier, when she's doing the test on Danny sees into, like, the Logan footage facility. Is that what her deepest, darkest fear is supposed to be? That she worked on that facility?
I guess, like
is that...
it's just something she knows. But yeah, so like sometimes Danny can like read minds. Like she's like I would guess that's kind of it. Is she's got like fear and like a guilt related to that. But also like we find out later that she's just fucking evil. So maybe she doesn't. But if we're just going about with like that character we kind of know from the first 2 acts of the movie, then you figure if that character did work at that facility, she would feel guilty about that.
It's so unclear, man. But
speaking of the Logan footage, sorry,
they're kind of inconsistent about her level of guilt because when she gets the kill order, she does like a face. Like, oh no, I have to do this thing. But then when she's actually doing it, she seems totally into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She has a story prepared that she uses to psych herself up before she kills the kids, usually, I'd assume.
I love murder.
I also think
just love murder.
It's funny that they have the Logan footage. It's like kids being led into rooms and then getting electrocuted with cattle prods, and then one kid using telekinesis to like knock over dummies or something. It doesn't look nearly as gnarly as you'd kind of hope for mutant killing machines. It's like, this guy, he can shove you, but from a foot away. He didn't even have to touch you to shove you. Watch out. Here comes Chubby McShoves. Like, I don't even know a mutant, if that's even supposed to be a mutant from X-Men comics, but it's probably not. It's just some guy that can shove good. But these movies both, like, don't want to commit to any mutants actually being in it if they're not the right ones, but also, like, doesn't want to commit, doesn't want to, like, get in, like, doesn't want to make the mutants look cool when it has the option to. So it doesn't make them all look scaly or something in this footage, and they're not breathing fire. Yeah, they're just like knocking over dummies. I don't know. That is bizarre that they use that footage
to no end. Like it never comes up. Like you said, it's not like a bunch of kids. Could you imagine if, like, instead of the bear bursting through, it was a bunch of kids from that facility who just started like stabbing her with scalpels?
Yeah,
like that's how she died.
That'd be fun.
Well, the whole speech is like so obviously leading into her finally learning how to control her powers and using them against Reyes.
Yeah.
But no, it's not what happens.
No, because instead, you know what does happen, though? Remember earlier, there was a big old bear that seemed to exist within Danny's mind, but was manifested during one of her, like, dreams or something.
Yeah.
And we never saw where it went. And it didn't really go anywhere, because you would assume it ceased to exist, except it does breach the perimeter somehow, which isn't how these things usually work. We do get like a notification that like there's a new thing here. It's close. It's on its way. And you're like, is the bear coming from out of town?
Inside the house.
Yeah, you'd assume the bear would just like show up. But yeah, it just like jumps through the window and like eats up her. It's so funny how much it eats this character and like chomps her into a million bites. I'm actually pretty happy for the bear in that moment. 'Cause Mike is probably yummy, probably psyched.
I didn't consider that. But
yeah, like the bear. Like if my cat had a toy and it went that crazy on the toy, I'd be like, he's having a ball. Way to go, Mortimer. Enjoy. Also, she has a red eye. Did either of you guys notice? So Mr. Sinister also has red eyes, and I was like, oh, is she supposed to be Mr. Sinister? But that's not what it is. That's just like a little.
Could you imagine? She pulls away
oh
her
my
face
god!
Like, I am Mr. Sinister.
She pulls off her Scooby-Doo mask.
Yeah, it's like this is his stupid, awful, intro, origin story. But also,
I am inevitable.
yeah, we get the bear is now trying to eat all the kids. Now, why is it doing this?
It's all they're all afraid of bear. They're all so afraid
I
of
guess
bear.
that's true. It's probably pretty scary for them in that moment. It just definitely trumped mine.
If being afraid of the bear that your powers created is allowed to fuel the bear, then I don't see why all their fears can't change to the bear.
It's all the bear.
It would be funny if like their other fears were still in the in the asylum, and like
it was
the priest just started walking through the hallway with like a one of those thingies that has smoke in it, and he was like, I'm coming to get you, Wolfsbane, and then just the bear ate him too. And it's like, oh, I guess the bear is her fear now too. Cool. Good for the bear.
I thought you were going to say if the bear like merged with all the other fears and it was like the annihilation bear that's all fucked up on a bunch of different stuff.
Oh my god, if like the bear got the little cardinal hat and the smiley face and like a little mining pickaxe and I guess was on fire now, that would be so funny. Like,
oh god,
the demon bear is pretty cool in the comics, and like just artistically it's a pretty like cool thing. And it doesn't look, I don't think it looks super bad in this, except for one shot at the very end. But it's definitely not cool enough in the context of the movie to justify itself. It almost kind of feels like the characters of the movie know that the most famous New Mutants story involves a demon bear. So one must show up, and they have to kill that, which is good for them. And Magic fights it.
I mean, obviously, she's the best one there, and she finally got over herself, so here we are.
Was she ever not over herself, though? She's whipping out that sword, killing people left and right, if that was an option.
not early with the Smiley Man.
No, but with Dan, she was going to execute Danny in the pool hall. I don't see why.
I guess there's kind of an implication that she was too scared of the Smiley Men to fight them effectively, but then she doesn't deal with it at all.
Yeah.
And then can do it later for no reason.
I mean, she can kill the Smiley Men later, but yeah, it's just because she disappears and then comes back. Which, like, if there was any explanation related to Limbo, which we don't know because this movie doesn't really understand it. But if this was like a good X-Men comic, you could maybe be like, she went to Limbo, and then there'd be a whole comic of her just like getting over herself and like her whatever fear and stuff, and then she would come back all ready to play. But in this, it really just seems like she teleported into a place, hung out there for a little bit, and then got her sword and went and tried to kill them all.
Peter.
God, this movie's so bad.
But okay. So how about this? So this part I really didn't like. In the bit where the bear shows up, Magic goes to fight that bear, and do you guys remember what she says? I tweeted about this because it bothered me so much.
She literally says, "I'm Magic."
Well, no, but what leads up to that?
You can't fight that. She's like, you can't fight the bear. It's Magic.
Oh,
and she says, "So am I," and then jumps in the portal. Now her name is Magic, I guess. I don't know if she's decided that until just now, but sure. But also,
it's again these X-Men movies like hate actually using the superhero names. And so we'll only have sly references to them, and that's hers.
But also, not only is she not Magic, or the movie doesn't seem to think she is, because she didn't learn magic like she did in the comics, the bear isn't Magic either. We know what the bear is at this point in the movie. In the comics, it's Magic, and that line exists in the comics in exactly the same way, but it works because the bear is Magic. But in this, it's just like, you can't fight that thing. It's Magic. No, it's not. It's mutant powers. My name's Magic. I'm going to go fight it now. Like, it's weird.
I am also mutant powers.
Yeah. Mutant powers must defeat
powers.
Mutant powers, Jackie. I got this. You mogway. Okay. There's also bits where, so then the dragon comes to life, and fuck if I didn't know that was a real thing from the comics. That'd be so confusing. Just that the dragon is a dragon from stuff.
Yeah.
And not a puppet. But how do they fight the bear? What's their plan to fight the bear?
Well, first it's throw your power at bear to best of your ability.
Yeah.
And that's slow, not even slowly, that quickly does not work.
It's like people peel off to go fight the bear while the rest of them are like running and trying to hide Danny from the bear. Even though the bear is manifested by her and therefore almost certainly knows where she is at all times.
Yeah.
Can I say my favorite part about this scene? Because it just kind of happens in the middle of this.
Sure.
So while they're doing this, like running away from the bear and certain people peel off, Rain is carrying her. They get outside the hospital and Rain turns to Berto and is like, you need to carry her. And he's like, oh no, my trauma. And she's like, don't worry, you're not going to hurt her. So he takes her. Then they run 10 feet to another building, to the chapel, go inside it. And then Rain says, here, I'll take her, and takes her back for Berto.
And
he only had to carry. She gave him to him for no reason, and then took her back immediately. Like, what was the point?
And I think that's a good kind of. If we had to cut a character out of this movie, it's Berto, because the movie keeps forgetting he's there. And even at the end, when she's like, when they're in the church, she's like, hide under the chairs, and he does. And then later, someone's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm hiding. And they're like, why? And he's like, because that's what they said. And he's like, yeah, but no, you can punch. And he's like, oh, I can punch. And then he goes and does some punching. But like, it's pretty bad how few of the characters in this movie come up with a plan to use powers in an interesting way or together at all. Because it's usually just like, I'll do my one and then I'm dead. Now you go. Because Ileana uses swords and teleporting and stuff, gets knocked in next Thursday by the bear, and has like a little. She gets kind of sad because her puppet turns back into a puppet. And then Cannonball comes in, knocks a tooth out of the bear, which is weird. Because what is the tooth at that point? What is the bear? Like, it looks like it's just kind of smoke, but the tooth is a real tooth. And then Berto like punches at the bear with pews. He like
it's like throwing the
he
church
goes on
pews at
fire so he can pick up some stuff and try to hit the bear with it.
Yeah.
Like what is the purpose?
Oh man, I'm watching this scene again and I was like really trying to focus now on Berto, and he has the little dots around him that are traditional in his like in the way you would draw that character, and I don't like them here either. Oh god, it's weird. It looks like Tuco Sunspot. He turns into the Human Torch for a second and like goes on fire, and then like turns black and like super dark, which is like what he usually looks like. But he still has these like little floaty orbs around him that I assumed in the comics were just like smoke or bubbles of hot air or something. But in this, it does look like they're little particle effects. And yeah, he punches at the demon bear. And at one point, what's-her-name calls it demon bear. That's weird. Ilyana's like, hey, demon bear. And I guess it's because they had the lie detector scene where they all explained their backstories.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
That scene was weird. And during this whole time, Danny is having like a little crisis in like a mystery woods, having like visions of dead relatives and her father and stuff. It's pretty great.
It's like, this is probably represents something, right?
Yeah, there's a movie thing there.
Not really.
Nope.
It could if you did something here, but nope. She's just gonna run around a little and then hide in a tree. All right. Well.
Well, then she hides in the tree, wakes up. How then do we defeat the demon bear?
So Rain is like, wake up, Danny. Buys her a few minutes by buys her a minute by scratching on the demon bear's face. And then Danny comes to the realization, I think it's when the father says, it's not your fault, Danny. Like something.
It's my fault. I told you a terrifying story and created this whole business.
Doesn't he literally say, like, she's like, how can I defeat the bear? He's so big now. And he just says, you're bigger.
Yeah.
You're bigger.
Awful.
Yeah.
And she's like, what does that mean in the metaphor? And he's like, goodbye.
But then Danny wakes up. I think she says, like, control.
Well, she definitely yells stop at the bear.
Yeah, that's first.
That I remember, and it's so, like, something about the way that scene is composed musically or, like, with the sound effects, it's very silly because everything just stops and she's like, no! It's almost like in, like, a silly, like, the way a comedian would be like, no, bad bear. No, dude, demon bear. Stop. And the demon bear's like, sorry.
Yeah, my bad.
And I didn't mean it. But, like, it kind of seems like the demon bear was protecting her because it listens to her, kind of, right?
Yeah, but I don't know.
Would it have killed her if given the chance?
Probably.
I guess. I think it would have, because I think this is just supposed to represent her being able to control her powers. So now it'll listen to her because she's able to make the illusions do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
Self-realization.
That makes sense.
But, like, before that moment, it wouldn't have listened to her, and it totally would have killed her.
Yeah. And there's one bit specifically, and I'm going to find the exact minute mark here because I've got it going, and I'm going to find it where the CGI looks really weird. It's in the, like, we're close because it's like we get her touching the bear on its little snout, and it's like
boop on the snoot.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, here it is. So at a minute or an hour, 23 minutes, 11 seconds for me. I'll take a screenshot so I can share it with you guys. It looks pretty rough. Yeah, I think it'd be really hard for me to watch this movie and then be like, just tell what the character's powers are afterwards, after this interaction. Like, what can she do?
Wait, like in terms,
like, can she make
like,
this
make
bear?
these visions happen, but then she can make them do what she wants?
And if that's the case,
can she
then
just manifest the bear?
Fucking hell, she's awesome. She's the best X-Men we've got so far.
Well, I mean, yeah, especially if it's all real. I mean, her name shouldn't be Mirage then. It should be like God.
Yeah, it should be like Bear Conjurer.
I thought you were sharing a screenshot from a video game.
Didn't we all?
Like a PS3 game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it doesn't look good.
What's the Last Guardian?
Yeah.
That's the one with the...
The Last Guardian is very much like this in terms of it took a while to come out and got delayed.
And ultimately people were like, I mean, this isn't terrible, but it's not really worth the hype.
Yeah, they were like, I guess if you had released this at the time, it would have been exciting for us, but we kind of got ourselves all worked up, and now it's not that great. And then they're all like, I guess now we leave. Roberto puts on funny red pants and they all leave. I liked his pants at the end.
Well, because he burned all his clothes, so he's naked in the second to last scene.
Yeah, which, like, sure, whatever. I don't know. This movie's stupid. His clothes are bad, but Cannonball's clothes are fine. Magic's clothes are fine. They're all, like, just let their clothes not burn off. And also, like, he doesn't... this movie just... I really don't... I think, like, the X-Men movies never quite got the powers completely right, but I do think when they were simpler, it was easier. It'd be like, he'd, like, shoots optic beams. And even then, it was like, well, what is it? Is it a laser? And it was like, I don't know, maybe in the movies. But, like, man, when they try to get into the complicated powers, they have a really hard time with it. And it's... doesn't always work. All in all,
I love how the ending is like they're being like, all right, we're gonna go wander off into the sunset, be wandering band of heroes together. And in my mind, I'm just like, they all do that, and then Berto's like, okay, cool, you guys do that. I am gonna go back to my super rich parents and live a wealthy life for the rest of eternity.
And also, they're
like, yeah, I did a murder. Like, they could pay that off.
Yeah.
You know?
And
It's
also,
fine.
mutants are a thing. I think we can explain it. I didn't do it on purpose. Like, people probably won't be psyched, but propaganda, we can figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, like, Sam, yeah, you're poor and you don't have any political clout or influence. Like, yeah, you're fucked. They're not going to care that it was an accident. Me, I get all the chances in the world.
Well, and come with me, Sam. We're friends. Sam and Berto have, like, a good vibe. Just we'll go back to Brazil and you'll live the life, man.
You'll
pick up Portuguese fast enough.
Oh, my God. He can barely speak English. In the other thing I think is so funny about the movie is they're like, we don't know where the nearest town is. It could be 20 miles away. And they're like, well, let's start walking. And it's like, two of you can fucking fly, kind of. Check. Cannonball and Magix, they're teleporting and flying around the whole space. Send the wolf one. Everybody goes, and then we check back in and figure out where the fuck we are before we just start wandering in the woods. You jerks.
Also, Danny could just make a bear and ride
the bear into the civilization.
Danny, quickly become scared of giant eagles so that we could just fly away.
Well, that's the thing about Mirage, and that's where I really thought the end of the movie was going, is she can make your greatest fear, but she can also, like, make the greatest... Like, she can make a good or bad thing. It's going to be an extreme usually, but, like, she can manifest something you really, really like, or, like, the power has a balance. So I kind of figured that would be how they deal with the bear, is like some sort of positive influence to cancel it out. Especially because of the fucking two bears thing.
Bears,
yeah,
Nando.
exactly. And the one you feed or whatever. And it's just like, man, this movie just, it needed rewrites. It needed reshoots and like all that stuff. Like, it needed all of the things that they wanted to give it but couldn't because...
A Snyder Cut.
Oh my God, release it. I want a spikier bear. I want the spikiest fucking bear you can imagine. Tie staples and the little knives to the bear. Then we'll see if it's any good.
Also, it should be in black and white, and it should be 4 hours long.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah, this movie sucks. It's the last X-Men movie before the Fox ones all die. Like, this is the last remnant of a, fish gasping on the shore trying to get water in its lungs or gills. And it won't, because Disney is going to eat the fish and make its own fish out of that fish with the X-Men movies they're going to make. It's a shame because this would have been a great place to start. I think you could have made this X-Men movie 1 in the MCU if it was good, and it would have been a really strong building block for, like, new characters in an existing world. We use it to, like, oh, that one knows Colossus, and this one's kind of magic, so, Doctor Strange, and this one Wolfsbane goes and does X-Men stuff like the rest of them. This one, Cannonball goes and hangs out with Deadpool. But they wasted it, and now we can't do it. It's so frustrating. Also, this would have probably been a good series. Like, I could see this working on HBO, like, at 10 episodes, kind of, better. But, like, this kind of story feels like it would work episodically with the horror stuff. But, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's out.
You know what it is? It's just that the X-Men franchise has been squandered at this point. So it's like... anything outside of Deadpool, it's you're gonna have to wait. It's kind of somehow it really outlasted like Fantastic Four. Lord knows when we're getting another one of those, but yeah, just some of these things have been totally ruined by past experiences, and this is just another one in a long line of shitty franchise attempts.
Yeah, I think we'll get a Fantastic Four pretty soon. I think it'll be a while before we get X-Men, and a really long time before we get these guys. Just because with Fantastic Four, there was this like kind of like writing on the wall, even when they started making Fantastic, that this wasn't going to last and this would go back to Disney soon. Whereas with these X-Men movies, there was always this, like, you hear the director, he'll talk about like, oh yeah, we wanted to do this in the second one and this in the third one. And it's like, dude, it was never, there were like, I mean, maybe you thought there were at some point and there were discussions because this started forever ago. But like, you know, I can see this confusing people who are like, did they know Iron Man? Are they sad that Iron Man died in this universe too? And then which one of them blipped? So I feel for people like that don't have all of this backstory because it's very confusing. But that is all to be said about the X-Men movies. Until next week, maybe we'll do X-Men Apocalypse. CJ hasn't seen that movie. It's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
How about this? You guys want to get to a classic segment?
Yeah,
let's recommend some things. DJ, what do you got to recommend to the fine people?
All right, so I got like a hodgepodge of recommendations this week. So first of all, Nando, the Auntie Donna show that you recommended.
Yeah,
oh
so good.
My God, chef's
DJ,
kiss.
Touche.
Continuing his streak of recommending things that Nando or I have already recommended.
I am not recommending it. I am just saying that it's great, but I am not taking it as a rec for my own. That's not what's happening.
Touche.
Right now. Touche. Oh, it was such a great show.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so hodgepodge. So the new Destiny expansion came out. So that's like what I've been doing, but that feels like a cop out to rec because everyone knows like that I play it. So I'll skip that. But that's like thing I've been doing this week. Holiday Baking Championship on Food Network. I know I mentioned the Halloween one when it was Halloween time, but this is the holiday one that I like better because it's a better panel of judges, and I like what they do with the themes more for holiday baking. So if you like baking shows, it's on the Food Network. If you don't have cable because it's 2020, all the episodes are free on foodnetwork.com, which is actually pretty sweet. You don't need any kind of login. You just got to sit through the ads, but you could find like a lot of the Food Network shows actually you could find on their website for free, which like if you want to watch some barefoot Contessa, it's all there on Food Network. What else? Oh, they released Final Fantasy VIII on Game Pass, which I was playing a little bit. Final Fantasy VIII is like one of those like low key, I think really good Final Fantasy games that gets overlooked a lot. But it's probably one of my like top 5 Final Fantasy games, like right up there with 7 for me. So if you have Xbox Game Pass, definitely give Final Fantasy VIII a look. And the last thing is they put Season 6 of Forged in Fire on Netflix. I've talked about Forged in Fire on the show before, but real quick, it's basically a knife and weapon making competition that's awesome. They get a certain kind of metal, like sometimes it's like scrap metal, sometimes it's specific like just like a rod of like A110 steel, and they have to make like a specific blade or a knife that they're given parameters for. And then if you make it to the final round, you go back to your home forge to make a specific weapon from like history. And it's a great fucking show. Season 6 is on Netflix. If you have not watched Forged in Fire, I cannot recommend it enough. It's a great show. You'll learn so much about like metallurgy and blacksmithing, and you may never use it, but it's an awesome show. So if you have not watched Forged in Fire, give it a shot. I think what they have on Netflix, like those first few episodes, is like a really good way to get your feet wet, and you could tell like pretty quickly whether you will or will not be into the show. But I think it's awesome. So yeah, those are my recs for this week. Kind of a random hodgepodge of different things I've been doing besides playing Destiny. So yeah,
very good. Diggins, what do you got? You got anything for the fine people?
I do. I watched a classic movie recently from the Criterion Collection because I'm a sophisticated polyglot cultural elite
nerd.
So I want to recommend it. It's an old spy movie based on a book called The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. Yes, it's like I said, a classic. It's like about Cold War spies. In Berlin, East and West Berlin, but also kind of just around Europe generally. The guy who wrote it, Jean Le Carré, is a pretty famous writer. He wrote a bunch of other things that have been adapted, like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy and The Night Manager. But he actually started he was a spy working for British intelligence, and he started writing books as a direct response to the popularity of James Bond, to be like, well, okay, but being a spy isn't actually like cool and glamorous and stuff. It's actually kind of sucks and is bad. So his stories tend to be very bleak and have a dim view of the morality of intelligence operations. Which definitely comes through in this one. I'll just leave it at that. So but it also still has like a lot of like intrigue, maneuvering behind the scenes, manipulation, not being sure of people's motives and everything. So it's like interesting in that way, while also being a little more morally complex and than your typical fun spy romp. So I really enjoyed it. And if you can stomach old, it's from the 60s, but it's in black and white for aesthetic reasons. So if you could stomach old movies which are maybe a little slow paced and are in black and white, I think it's a really, really good one. So you should definitely check that out. So once again, that's called The Spy Who Came In From the Cold.
Very good. Cool. Speaking of spies, not really spies, but I finished Queen's Gambit, which is has the Russia Cold War kind of vibes. It's the chess show. I really dug it. Speaking of cold, I finished the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. It takes place during winter and Christmas and such. It's fun. It's not as long as the original one, and I think the combat's a little, while the combat and stuff, some of it's like more fluid. I also think it's just a little more like, it's a little simpler because of how much damage you do punching guys with electricity fists. But I think in general it's a fun game and it's a good experience. So I'd recommend that to pretty much anybody because it's just really, really good as a way to pass time. And if you have a PlayStation 5, then screw it. Like, probably you should think about it because there's not a ton of other stuff. I also what else have I been up to? I feel like I played some games. I mean, I played like some of the Jackbox Party Pack 7, which we played the other day. I played it with family. You know what game I played? I played the one where you have to guess things based off clues from people, pop culture stuff.
Oh, what the hell? Blather Round?
Yeah, that game's fun. I didn't know that game was as fun as it was.
I have mixed feelings on that game.
Oh, really?
I have found that I've only played it in like one go, but I found like people would stop giving clues so they could like throw in answers yourselves, because you only get points if you like get it right, or you get like the most points for like getting it right. Like, I just think the scoring system's weird.
Ah, interesting.
If that makes sense.
I'd have to play it again, but I bet
like
there's something
people
there.
Would hold back on things because they're like, oh, I want to guess that thing, so I get the most points.
I'm kind of confused. So they would hold out on guessing what?
Like, so the point of the game is you're supposed to like talk around to like, group think the answer to whatever the topic is. So some people would hold back on clues because they would want to guess those clues to see if it was right. Does that make sense?
They'd hold back on clues like
they wouldn't say them out loud. They would punch them into their device's guesses. So you're losing some of that efficiency of being like, ball, basketball, baseball, tiger, kind of being able to.
I see. When we played it, we just played with that, but also with the typing. We didn't really pay attention to the talking part of it, where it's like,
oh, interesting.
Yeah, because
I thought
with the typing it's a little bit trickier, but it's fun.
Because I thought the idea was like talk is like a group and trying to like come up with the answer together.
Oh, I thought it was just like taking the guesses and kind of moving forward with them from like going like, oh, it's kind of like this, but smarter and whatever that. However
right.
That works.
I might have misinterpreted it, but I thought the rules were like, and remember, talk it out so you could figure out whatever.
Oh, I see. So you're saying people would try to keep the information so that they didn't. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I did enjoy that game. Other than that, I feel like there's like a bunch of things because it's been so long not like so long, but it's been long enough. I mean, I did watch all of Auntie Donna, which I loved. And I feel like I caught up on a comic thing, but I can't remember what it was. But there's something that I had been meaning to catch up on that, God, I don't know. I mean, the Spider-Man was big. Yeah, Queen's Gambit was great. Yeah, I don't know. There's lots of good stuff on the internet, and I would recommend people watch it. Wait, but that's continue watching. Oh.
Just go on the internet. Just go on the internet and watch some things.
Yeah, just like turn it on, see what you find. There's some great stuff everybody likes. Austin Powers, still great. Probably others. I honestly can't remember, but I do think there was at least one more thing. But anybody have anything to plug while I maybe kind of try to think of it? Oh, I know what it was. Star Wars Holiday Special on Disney Plus. Very funny.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that out now?
Yeah. They made it like a Lego kind of completely different thing, but it's like it feels like almost like Family Guy-ish, but more, less cutaways and more just if all the characters were silly. So I guess it's probably closer to like what Robot Chicken would do, but it's really, I was thoroughly entertained by it, so I would recommend that. And it is free if you have Disney Plus. And also Mandalorian is great, which, can't say enough good things about. So yeah, but anything to plug?
We figured out a name for our Bachelorette podcast. It's called Roses and Rejections, and it can be found in the Pop Break TV feed.
Okay, so is it like if we subscribe to the Pop Break TV podcast, that's where we would find it?
Yep, that's where we are.
Okay,
yep. I believe that's like where Pop Break TV.
Have you started it yet, or are you?
Yep.
Okay,
we episode 2 came out. We released on Friday.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
You can check us out there.
Cool. Diggins, you got anything to recommend to the fine people?
Well, I already did my recommendation.
Sorry. Do you have anything of your own to recommend to the fine people?
No, I'm a lazy asshole, and I have nothing.
That's okay.
You good, homie.
Yeah, there's lots of great stuff to do in the world. We gave all of our recommendations, so you can take a week off from having something to plug and just enjoy the Rex. Eat those Rex up. Yeah, I don't have anything super exciting now, although I definitely do want to do some sort of New Mutants video in the future, so we'll see about that. What are we doing next week? Any guesses?
Jiu-Jitsu, right?
When does that come out?
Does that come out next week?
I believe this Friday comes out.
Oh,
yeah,
we could do that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Let me just double check. Yep, November 20th, so we are totally good for Jiu-Jitsu
awesome.
for next week.
A movie. 2 new movies in a row, you guys. Lucky you. And then
our cup runneth over.
And a Nicolas Cage movie. I'm so excited.
And then we're going to have Tenet. We're going to have Wonder Woman 84. There will be actual stuff, you guys. It's going to be so great.
Yes.
We'll have that Tom Holland movie that keeps getting pushed into Infinity of Death is apparently coming out in January. So lots of good stuff. Cool.
All right.
Well, we'll see you guys next week. Until then, I am at Nando V Movies on Twitter.
7-star runtime.
Oh my
7-star
God!
podcast.
Yeah, that's what they got. I mean, this is the New Mutants episode. There was no way this wasn't going to be a big one. We've been talking about this episode for years.
I don't think it's even our longest episode ever.
I don't think so
y'all
either.
cowards.
Yeah, cowards.
I'm at Zippy by Day.
I'm at This Is an Odd Name.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Woohoo!
Bye. We love you.
We love you so much.